Station Saturday kicks off now.
What does it take to be number one?
Power. Passion. Tradition.
Number one football team in the country.
And number one. There is no room for second place. There is only one place in my game, and that's first place. Vince Lombardi.
It is a beautiful fall day in our nation's heartland, Ames, Iowa, and a sellout crowd has come to see if the Cyclones can do something they have never done before, and that is beat a #1 team. Tonight at Jack Trice Stadium, it's the 72nd meeting between the top-ranked Oklahoma Sooners and the Cyclones of Iowa State. Hello again, everybody. Along with Charles Davis, I'm Ron Thulin. It has been a crazy year in college football. Already, 10 of the top 25 teams have fallen from the rankings and because of losses. Meanwhile, Oklahoma just keeps rolling on, and they're doing it with a Bob Stoops staple, and that is defense.
And why not, considering his background as a top defensive coordinator at Kansas State and at Florida before he assumed the reins at Oklahoma. They come at you from a variety of angles with a tremendous group of athletes. The speed is incredible, and there are their rankings. 5th in the country in total defense. They've only allowed 13 points in the first half. Most of the points they've allowed in games have come in the fourth quarter and on special teams errors. And the linchpin of their defense is their All-American linebacker, Teddy Lehman. He wears number 11, but you'd swear there's 2 of him out there on the field when they're on defense because he's all over the field. Starts at weak side linebacker, can roll to the middle. As he goes, so goes the Sooners.
Well, Charles, there's no question this is the fastest defense Oklahoma has ever fielded, and this is a defense that's so fast Iowa State hasn't faced this kind of speed yet, but they're going to do it with a redshirt freshman quarterback by the name of Austin Flynn.
And he might need to change his name to Austin Powers, man of mystery, so they don't know whether he's going to run it or throw it. But if he does throw it tonight, he'll throw it to a trio of receivers, seniors that can make big plays for him. Lane Danielson is their key guy. He's their guy that's up for all Big 12, a former walk-on who's really made good. Lance Young is their deep threat, and Jack Whitver, he just keeps making plays. But they have to bring their game up a level tonight to help their young quarterback out.
Well, Charles, Oklahoma has trailed in only one game. That was against UCLA, and it was only for a couple of minutes. You'd have to think that Iowa State cannot afford any early mistakes in this game.
Yeah, so let's just go back to last year's game where Oklahoma scored 67 seconds into the game, put the first 35 points on the board en route to a 49-3 thrashing of Iowa State. That's all they have to do is repeat that performance. It won't be easy against the Cyclones, but for Oklahoma, disguise and attack. Disguise their secondary coverages and come with their rush. And Dan Cody, their defensive end, he has 4 sacks already, so he'll be eager to get after Austin Flynn tonight.
Well, Ames, Iowa's been pretty kind to the Sooners. They've only lost here twice, the last coming in 1960. Now let's send it to our studios with Ernie Johnson and Brian Boswell.
Yeah, let's do that. Studio A right here in Atlanta, Big Play Station Saturday. And this is the Boz, former Oklahoma Sooner. And got the Sooners on TV, and I can already tell you're getting a little pregame pump. You're getting a little geeked up here.
After those first 3 weeks of blowouts, I'm hoping for a good one tonight.
You and countless viewers as well. Also, next week, huge game as Texas takes on Oklahoma.
No, I'm not talking about that right now. Let's focus on Iowa State tonight, baby.
Not looking at past this week.
Can't look ahead. That's what's happened. Miami, they almost looked ahead and got beat. You know,
Texas not looking ahead today when they played Kansas State.
couldn't afford to look ahead.
And this is a big one for them. The hype has begun, and these guys are pumped up trying to knock off the #1 team in the land. Once upon a time, Boz was in the midst of a situation like that. But these days, pregame, it's more like moments ago, just concerned about the hair sticking up just a hair.
I needed a little bit of human loogie. There it is. Thank you, baby.
Oh, my. I didn't know they were going to include that.
Stadium, a standing room only crowd on hand to see Iowa State and the Oklahoma Sooners. They have been #1 for 7 consecutive weeks, trying to add their 8th national title to their already very impressive resume down in Norman, Oklahoma. Iowa State is pumped. Dan McCarney said the pressure's on Oklahoma. Is it? Here's Bob Stoops with our Craig Sager.
Well, every week we have upsets in college football, a stadium full of Iowa State fans hoping for one tonight. What have you done to keep your team from looking ahead and focus on the challenge tonight?
There's nothing to look ahead to. This is what we've looked for. This is what we prepared for. We're excited to play tonight.
Any last-minute concerns?
No, just want to play.
All right, thanks a lot. Thank you, Ray.
All right, thanks very much, Craig Sager. Good look at Jack Trice Stadium. Absolutely perfect conditions. Game time temperatures in the 70s. There's Dan McCarney, 9th year at Iowa State, 2nd in longevity in the Big 12 to Bill Snyder, which is amazing. He's been part of turnarounds at Iowa and Wisconsin, but for the 50-year-old, the big turnaround was right here in Ames, Iowa. Speaking of the weather, Charles, I tell you, I've been coming here over 25 years. This is the most amazing October night I think we've ever had here.
And didn't we spend all week as a group calling each other and saying, check the Weather Channel? I heard a high of 48 on Saturday. This is outstanding. Thank you, Ames, Iowa. I may have to move here.
Absolutely beautiful place. Oklahoma has won the toss, and they have decided to defer the kick. David Banks-Bursey, Ellis Hobbs III will be back for Iowa State. Oklahoma will kick off. Trey DeCarlo, the sophomore out of Carrollton, Texas, a suburb of Dallas. Iowa State, pretty good kickoff return team. They average about 20 yards a return. You've already seen some scores from today. A couple of upsets already in the books. How about Baylor beating Colorado? Iowa State would like to have something like that happen here tonight. And we are underway in Ames. 7 yards deep. Ellis Hobbs will take a seat, and Iowa State will begin 1st and 10 from their own 20-yard line. This Iowa State offense has been hurt by injuries. Expect this offense to pull everything out of the playbook tonight. Of course, they're led by Austin Flynn, the redshirt freshman from Deer Park, Texas. He leads all freshmen in the country in total offense. He's got some skills.
He has some skills, and he has poise and maturity. That's what won him the job last spring. They said this is a guy who spent all of his redshirt year observing and absorbing the offense. That gave him a leg up on the other competitors.
We'll go from the I formation, Wagner and Ryan Cook. Cook is the fullback. 2 wide receivers to the right, Lance Young and Lane Danielson. Flynn's first pass of the evening, steps up in the pocket, and he is going to be dropped at the line of scrimmage. And let's take a look at our U.S. Army of One starting lineups. The rest of the offense for Iowa State. The Cyclones have lost Hiawatha Rutland, their star running back, so Michael Wagner is going to have to pick up the slack. Look for Stevie Hicks, a young freshman, also to step in tonight. Good news for their offensive line. They get their best blocker back in senior Bob Montgomery at left guard. That's a plus for him, Charles.
It is, because he helps the center, Luke Vandersanden, call all the line fronts and be able to help the blocking schemes.
They'll call it 2nd down and 10. Whitaker and Danielson wide to the right. Flynn keeps it, pulls it down to the 25 to the 30. 1st down, Iowa State. Antonio Perkins coming up with Rodney Poole to make the stop. Oklahoma's defense, they have problems with quarterbacks that can run the football.
Well, it's a nice call by Steve Brickey, the offensive coordinator, because in a 2nd and long situation early, after having already been sacked, they give Austin Flynn the opportunity to use his legs to get out of trouble. A planned quarterback draw, excellent job. There's Steve Brickey, the offensive coordinator, right there in the middle.
And next to him is former Kansas head coach Terry Allen, to your left. 1st and 10 now, 3 wide receivers to the right. Wagner joins Flynn in the backfield. Oh, Austin Flynn is dumped back at the 21-yard line. Tommy Harris, the All-American out of Killeen, Texas, Ellison High School, with the sack, his 2nd of the year.
Trying to set up a wide receiver screen to the top of your screen, but Tommy Harris was turned loose, which is amazing, because you know every offense goes into a game against Oklahoma saying we have to account for number 97. We must block him with 1, more likely with 2 people. That time no one blocked him, and you saw the result.
Loss of 8 on the play. Again, they'll go from the I formation. Wagner and Stevie Hicks in the backfield. Danielson and Whitaker wide to the right. Oklahoma brings the blitz. Flynn pulls it down again. Gets up to the original line of scrimmage before Brandon Everidge comes up from that free safety spot, the senior out of Granger, Texas, to make the stop. Let's take a look at that Oklahoma defense, the fastest in Mike Stoops' history, and it starts up front with the man we just saw, Tommy Harris. He's finally healthy. Last year was a little dinged up. Linebacker Wayne Chambers. He has taken the place, of course, of the injured Lance Mitchell. He's a sophomore from Grandview, Missouri. And in the secondary, Derek Strait sets the tempo for this defense.
6 defensive backs on the field right now for Oklahoma. Going to get all their speed and athleticism on the field at the same time.
3rd down, we'll call it 10 and a half. He's got some time, has to step back up, throws it into a crowd, incomplete. Intended for Jack Whitford, the senior out of Grinnell, Iowa. And the Iowa State Cyclones are going to have to kick it away, and this is where it gets dicey. All week we've been talking to Dan McCarney. Are you going to kick it away from Antonio Perkins, that man right there? Let's put it this way. The Iowa State punter better do it.
Yeah, and what he says is he wants all punts between the numbers and the sideline, which doesn't give you a lot of yardage. That's about 7.5, 8 yards from the top of the numbers to the sideline. Let's see if he can place it there.
And he does. Perkins is going to take it, and he's pushed out of bounds at about the 23-yard line. That's exactly what you want to do. Then we have a penalty flag for him.
They took a great play and made it into a bad one. Excellent punt, pinned him to the sideline.
Antonio Perkins,
and then when Perkins was there, the guy wrestled him out of bounds too far. The official threw the flag. Dan McCarney saying, hey, that wasn't a real personal foul, but you know something? He's already on the sideline. Let it go. Take a look here, number 48 for the Iowa State Cyclones on the play. That's Pat Gurkis, a reserve linebacker, a little overzealous.
Personal foul. Just the kicking team. Late hit out of bounds. 15-yard penalty. First down.
That's a play you can't make when you're trying to upset the #1 team in the country. You just made a fantastic play with your punter. No return by Antonio Perkins, and you give it back. Give him 15 yards of field position.
48 yards on the punt, and the Oklahoma Sooners didn't have such great field position. Now they do. Hal Dowden, by the way, is our official. We have an excellent Big 12 crew here tonight. From the I formation, the Sooners on their first possession. Works, big hole, kicks to the outside, gets up to midfield and across midfield down to about the 48-yard line. Now let's take a look at this Oklahoma offense. Now teams have loaded the box against them, but Jason White's take advantage of that to stretch the field, and this is probably the great story in college football, Jason White's comeback.
Yeah, other than Neil Perry at San Jose State, the young man has come back with a prosthetic leg to play, but Jason White is on the field at all times, has a bigger influence on the game back after 2 major knee operations and back-to-back years. Incredible.
Pick up a 14 on the play. 1st and 10 for the Sooners. White quickly throws it out into the flat. Mark Clayton still on his feet, crosses the 45 down about the 43-yard line. Nick Leaders, the sophomore out of Omaha, Nebraska, coming up with the first hit. Now let's take a look at the rest of that Oklahoma offense. The deep threat and wide receiver is Brandon Jones. He's the leading receiver, a great receiving crew. 6 can go deep. And on the line, the right side, probably the best in college football, led by a sophomore, Davin Joseph at right guard. That right side with Jamal Brown and Davin Joseph, they are big and they are good, and they'll be playing on Sundays in a couple of years.
Yeah, not to mention nasty.
Yeah,
they get after you when they block.
White keeps it, throws, has a man open down at the 33-yard line. Another pass complete. Mark Clayton, the junior out of Arlington, Texas, on the reception, his 2nd of the game. And that Iowa State defense only allowing 310 yards a game. Jordan Karstens is out, did not even dress. He's their best player. So Nick Leaders needs to step up now on that line. At the linebacker spot, they have to help out. Middle linebacker Brandon Brown's got some pretty good instincts. And in the secondary, former running back Jermaine Billups. He's the playmaker on the defensive side of the football. But the Sooners are marching on their opening drive. 1st and 10 on the Iowa State 32-yard line. White, quick look in pass. Pass is complete inside the 20 to Travis Wilson, the sophomore out of Carrollton, Texas. Brandon Brown on the stop.
Pretty simple throw for Jason White because the receiver's uncovered. You notice no one over the top of Travis Wilson, number 4, in the coverage Iowa State had. That gave him a free release into the secondary. Easy pitch and catch from Jason White to Travis Wilson. That's John Skladany in your picture there, the Iowa State defensive coordinator and linebackers coach. A great guy to talk to and has done an excellent job with this defense.
Right now they've got to put the brakes on an Oklahoma machine that's oiled. Ronaldo works left side. You can hear the pads popping as he gets down to the 12-yard line. Billups on the first hit. Has Oklahoma changed their philosophy on run and pass the last couple of years?
They have, you know, and it's kind of fluctuated back and forth. When Bob Stoops first took over, they were more of a pass team, heavily in favor of pass. Mike Leach, the head coach of Texas Tech, was his offensive coordinator. He wanted to throw the ball all the time. Plus, the personnel dictated it, and they moved closer to a 50-50 ratio on run-pass. Now they're back more with the pass because Jason White is so adept at throwing the football, and people are loading 9 people into the box against the run.
Oklahoma has scored on their first possession interception in the previous 4 games this year. This time, Wirtz is going to be stacked up right at the 10-yard line. He'll lose, maybe gain about a half a yard on the play. Nick Mosier, the sophomore out of Fort Dodge, Iowa, coming up to make the stop. That'll bring up a 3rd down play. Oklahoma bringing in Mark Clayton. Also checking in Lance Donnelly, the tight end.
They're taking the full back out. Looks like they're trying to go with a 1-back type of a set. Maybe 4 receivers. 3 wide receivers and a tight end.
And Wirtz joins Jason White in the backfield. White, penalty flag is thrown. Pass is complete. Nope, no play, they're saying.
Did they get the snap off the
I don't know
clock?
they did. Jawan Rankins was the receiver. Let's listen to Hal Dowden, see what he has to say.
Prior to the snap, false start on the offense, 5-yard penalty, still 3rd down.
Good look at Bob Stoops. What a great job he has done for this team. Out of Youngstown, Ohio, comes from a coaching family. Played his football just about 2 hours or so away from Ames, Iowa, in Iowa City. Played for the Iowa Hawkeyes. Also coached a little bit there. Also played when Dan McCarney was on the Iowa coaching staff.
Yeah, I was a redshirt freshman at Tennessee when we played Bob Stoops' Iowa Hawkeyes in the Peach Bowl. I never got on the field, but he was all over it.
Now, this is the 7th play of the drive for the Sooners. 3rd down and 7. White's quick-looking pass knocked away, incomplete. Brandon Jones could not pull it down, and the Sooners are going to have to try for a field goal.
Ultimately, Iowa State may surrender 3 points, but right now, John Skladany has to be happy. Had them in a 3rd and short situation. It appeared Oklahoma would have a 1st down until they were hit with the illegal motion penalty, illegal procedure, and now they have to try a field goal, and I think that would be a victory for Iowa State on the first possession of this game.
32-yard field goal for Trey DiCarlo. He was quite a surprise last year, his freshman season. Set a freshman record for kicking. This will be a 32-yarder. Snap is bobbled, but DiCarlo still able to get it up over the goalpost. So the Oklahoma Sooners make it 5 for 5 on their opening possessions in games this year. And Oklahoma leads 3-0 here in the first. Well, Texas has already beaten Kansas State today in Austin. Next week, the big showdown in Dallas. But right now, a little moral victory for Iowa State. They trail Oklahoma 3-0, holding the Sooners to a field goal. And it was just about 19 years ago, Jack Trice Stadium had the first night game, and it was Iowa State against Oklahoma. That was ranked number 1. Oklahoma won that game 12-10. There's Jordan Karstens on the sideline, their big defensive lineman. Big loss, though, not having big Karstens in there.
Huge loss, not just because of his stellar play, but his leadership and his ability. Jordan Karstens, the big fella right there. He will be missed tonight on the field.
Banks, Bursey, and Hobbs in the backfield. Waiting Banks, Bursey from about the 3. He's got some running room. He runs into a stack of white jerseys, and he'll be dumped at the 17-yard line. You know, this Iowa State team, they had a string of 1,000-yard rushers when Dan McCarney first got here, and it seemed like last year they got away from what Dan wanted to do here at Iowa State. Nothing against Seneca Wallace, but because he had so many tools, they got away from that run-first type philosophy, didn't they?
They did, and the offensive line, for whatever reason, was never able to put together the drive blocking that they were known for previously. Spending so much time having to protect Seneca, they lost a little bit of their edge and never developed a 1,000-yard back, although 2 backs combined did go over 1,000 yards for Iowa State.
Well, Michael Wagner now goes in the I formation. We're seeing the different formations Iowa State's doing. Cook, the fullback, straight ahead, penalty flag is thrown. Maybe gets back to the line of scrimmage.
That play was simply a tendency breaker by Iowa State to run the fullback. That's the 5th carry all year for Ryan Cook. Not a big part of their ground game, much more of a blocker.
Offsides on the defense, be a 5-yard penalty, repeat 1st down.
Let's check in with Ernie Johnson. EJ.
Hey, thank you, Ron.
Wow.
I'll tell you what, even the fans here, though, cheered when they saw that score come up.
A little state pride.
Austin Flynn's pass is complete up to the 38-yard line. Jack Whitver fights his way over the 40. Antonio Perkins on the coverage. Charles, you mentioned something during our open that receivers last year's game caught only 1 pass.
Yeah, 1 pass for the whole game. But watch Jack Whitver run the deep dig pattern. And against Oklahoma, that's a pattern that will be open. A 19-yard gain, great connection. And the best part is Jack Whitmer helping out his young quarterback, making a difficult catch despite good coverage by Antonio Perkins. Against Oklahoma's zone blitzes, that's a route that we'll see most of the night.
Now Cook and Wagner again in the eye. Flynn keeps it, and Oklahoma's quick defense there to pursue it. Coming up is Dan Cody, the sophomore out of Ada, Oklahoma. Here's a young man that was big last year, lost weight, got a little leaner, and the coaches love it. They said he's gotten quicker.
Yeah, he's gotten quicker. His motor runs even higher than it did before. And the thing about playing against a team such as Oklahoma, with the speed they have on defense, you can go laterally if you want to, but you've got to get upfield quickly. Don't go very far, don't go very long, because they will run you down in a hurry, as we just saw Dan Cody do.
I mean, you're having defensive linemen running backs and quarterbacks down.
Yeah, I don't want to run sprints against any of those guys.
No.
All right?
Yeah, that's right. Loss of 5 on the play. Danielson in motion. Flynn's got some time, rifles over the pass. That should be interference, and we're having flags coming everywhere. I don't think there's one official that didn't throw a flag on that.
You know, Flynn's pass intended for Young. There's a flag on the play.
Lance Young, the intended receiver.
The reason I'm laughing is one guy made the call, and then everyone else said, okay, let me pile on with you.
That's right.
Be a spot foul, automatic first down.
See Bob Stoops in our super shot. Let's take a look. Look like Brandon Everidge, I believe, number 7. And then there's Derek Strait, number 2. Watch Everidge come at the same time. Yep, a little bit early, getting there. Just about a half a beat early. Excellent call by the officials.
But now you were a defensive back. Does that send a message to the wide receivers of Iowa State? Don't come here. We're going to take your head off.
You try to send a message. I don't think that was enough of one yet. If you have the heart to play this game, as I know the Iowa State receivers do. But believe me, there will be more coming tonight.
Austin Flynn out of Deer Park, Texas, a suburb of Houston. He kind of bobbled it and just...
Yeah, he and Luke Vandersand in the center got their feet tangled up as he tried to pull away, taking the snap from center. Watch as he tries to make his getaway. Foot just got hooked by his centers. And since Vandersand weighs 305 pounds, his foot and ankle, they're going to win that bout. Okay?
Yeah. How about this, though? These two guys, Vandersand and Austin Flynn, actually lived together this past summer.
Well, obviously, they didn't play many games of Twister.
No, they didn't.
Because obviously, Flynn wouldn't be around to play now. He would have been all twisted up.
Now, second down and 13. Flynn seeing that speed again. That's what we talked about. Look how many white jerseys are around Flynn. Jonathan Jackson, Dusty Dvoracek, everybody in a white jersey got in on that one.
And number 94, Dusty Dvoracek, forced this play because he shot the gap. Watch Dvoracek on the inside. See, he gets to Flynn right away, number 94. That throws off all the timing of the play. That allows Jackson, 49, Lehman, number 11, 93, Corey Klein, the rest of the guys to clean up. There's Jackie Shipp, the defensive line coach, talking to Dusty Dvoracek on the sideline. Excellent play by big number 94.
And that brings up a third down and long. 3rd and 15 for Iowa State. The Sooners lead 3-0. 5.5 to play here in quarter number 1. Danielson cutting across the middle. Flynn's running for his life, and he throws it into the cheap seats. Teddy Lehman coming in from that linebacker spot. And one thing about Oklahoma, when they fall into what they like to call almost a 4-2 defense, they will bring people from everywhere.
And they're playing it really as their base defense now. Pasha Jackson, their other outside linebacker, not getting on the field as often now because Oklahoma's using 5 and 6 defensive backs with a 4-2 look. And on that last play, the rush was good, but the secondary coverage was excellent. He had nowhere to go with the football.
Well, Tony Yelk not quite that good of a punt. Perkins does get it, ball's down. Let's see who's got it. The officials are saying the Sooners have it. Eric Bassey's the one who recovered it. Boy, that was dangerous, but Oklahoma gets a break. 5:14 to play in quarter number 1. We're in Ames, Iowa, where the top-ranked Oklahoma Sooners have the lead. Big 12 opener for the Oklahoma Sooners. They've never lost one. They lead here 3-0. There's Jason White. Great story with more on Jason. Here's Aaron Andrews.
Well, Ron, in the next few weeks, the national media will be receiving a little something special in the mail. It's a postcard pushing the Heisman candidate, Jason White. Now, that's a lot like what USC did last year for Carson Palmer. That postcard reads, the White stuff. Jason White, 4-0 with 11 touchdowns so far this year. Ron and Charles, not a bad way to start off the Heisman campaign.
Absolutely, Aaron, and what a great story. We'll be telling you more about this young man out of Tuttle, Oklahoma. Sooners keep it on the ground. Work left side. We are seeing with Chuck Long a little more downhill running. Is that because they changed the blocking scheme last year?
Well, what they did was they changed their blocking philosophy. Kevin Wilson came in as the run game coordinator, former offensive coordinator at Northwestern. And what he likes to do, and that's Chuck Long, the offensive coordinator. And what Kevin likes to do is get out and mash people. You know, be physical in the run game. And what they've also done this year, because Quentin Griffin's not around, more I formation runs with their tailbacks because they've run those plays better.
Brandon Jones in motion. On second down, they keep it on the ground. Works. He is going to be hog-tied at about the 22-yard line. Brandon Brown, the junior out of Houston, Texas, Westfield High School on the stop. It's his second tackle tonight.
Take a look at Brandon Brown, number 33, played strong side linebacker last year. Now he moves into the middle. See how he stays away from the fray? Able to run at an angle, staying inside out. Makes a nice wrap up on Ronaldo Works. Excellent play by the linebacker, Brandon Brown.
One thing you can always count on when you come to Ames, Iowa, they're 8-1 in night games under Dan McCarney, but this is a team that plays hard on defense every down. And now the Sooners facing third down. We'll call it about 6. Jason White says he wants to talk about it. And with that, we'll step aside. 3:50 left to play in quarter number 1. The Oklahoma Sooners with the advantage. And our 1st and 10 line is brought to you by Home Depot. Sooners facing third down and 6. State only rushes 3. White's pass tipped incomplete. Intended for Mark Clayton. Great case of Iowa State dropping a defensive lineman. John Sculdani ran him back.
What they did, John Sculdani spent the offseason visiting with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defensive staff. And what they put in was some cover 2 looks. Brandon Brown, number 33 right there, that's called a cover 2 Mike. Middle linebacker running back into the middle of the zone, looking up the receivers, crossing and cutting. Nowhere to go with the football for Jason White. I'd say that's an offseason well spent for John Sculdani.
Blake Ferguson having an outstanding year kicking the football for the Sooners. Todd Miller standing back on his 30-yard line. Miller's got some room. Penalty flag is thrown as he gets cold cocked at the 35. 50 yards on the punt, 7 on the return, but we have a flag.
Wow, J.D. Runnels doesn't just play offense
for Oklahoma. There is a flag on the play.
No,
Holding on the return team. 10-yard penalty. First down.
Now that's 2 special team mistakes for Iowa State. And Dan McCarney's not going to stand for that, I don't think.
Not going to be happy, but it's a normal thing in kick situations. See right there, there's your clip. Going downfield, easy call for the officials, wide open, right in the middle of the field. Couldn't have missed it if they tried. That's Ellis Hobbs, number 11. Their starting cornerback, who's played so well for them this year, a native of DeSoto, Texas. I went to school with 4 guys from DeSoto.
Hey,
the DeSoto Eagles, they turn out some talent.
Some players. You can see the total yards. Believe it or not, Iowa State winning that battle. But that's been a problem for Iowa State this year. They put up numbers, but no points. Flynn trying to get away, and he's not going to be able to. Another penalty flag is thrown as Flynn is sacked back to the 15-yard line. That'll be the 2nd sack of the night for this Sooner defense.
Tommy Harris once again flushing Austin Flynn right into Larry Burdine, number 92. A lot of scrambling around. Let's see what the call is. Doesn't appear there's going to be a penalty, but look at watching the middle of your screen, number 97 Harris, who was held the whole way, and he still flushed him. Burdine 92 before he was cleaned up at the end. Looked like number 8 Dante Nicholson cleaning it all up.
Now they picked up the flag, no penalty. Loss of 10 on the play. Iowa State trying to get that running game going with Michael Wagner, but Derek Strait coming up to make the stop.
They're so quick. That was their cornerback making a play on the line. And look at the Oklahoma defense, which has made its presence felt early in this ball game. Big hit on Austin Flynn. He tries to go down the line on option. Dan Cody matches him step for step. Dusty Dvoracek, number 94, helping with another big play. And here, look at the pressure due to great coverage downfield. Austin Flynn taking another hit from the All-American, Tommy Harris.
And once again, they're facing third down and 1. 3rd and 20. Flynn trying to get away. Gets a block. Scrambling over the line of scrimmage, and he'll get back to the original line of scrimmage. Brandon Everidge coming up from that free safety spot to submarine him down. Well, Flynn's showing us some courage at least.
Well, he's showing us some moxie, and we heard all week when we were talking with different Iowa State people, observers of the program, that Austin Flynn, their quarterback, is mentally and physically tough, doesn't like to slide, doesn't like to go down, but he's learned early in this game against the #1 team in the country and one of the top-rated defenses in the nation, better to go down and slide and protect yourself so you'll be around the rest of the game.
Perkins back, and this time they kick right to him. Right in the middle of the field. Look out. But Iowa State does a tremendous job. Lane Danielson on the stop. 37 yards on the punt, only 1 on the return. Well, our next telecast will be coming your way next Saturday at 7 o'clock Eastern Time as the 12th-ranked Nebraska Cornhuskers take on the Missouri Tigers, and we get our first look at black shirt defense. Frank Solich, his team has really kicked it up a notch. Brad Smith, one of the premier quarterbacks in all of college football, and that's going to be a real barn burner in Columbia. Next Saturday, 7 o'clock Eastern Time.
By the time we see them, Nebraska may very well be in the top 10.
Absolutely. From the shotgun, White throws over the middle. Nice defensive job by the Cyclones. Jermaine Billups getting a hand on that ball that was intended for Lance Donnelly, the big tight end.
Great job of coverage by number 6, Jermaine Billups. There he is. Watch him getting underneath Lance Donnelly. Looked like they were playing almost quarters coverage. You know, a lot of people say, hey, maybe he had a little bit on the back there. I don't think he got a grab of cloth. I think he had an arm in the back of Lance Donnelly. No call, and I think it was good no call by the officials.
I think Bob wanted to call, but he's an ex-DB. He knows how that game is played.
Well, you know, he's not DB now. He's a head coach.
Yeah. Penalty flag is thrown as Works on the carry. Cephas Johnson on the stop, and I think that's going to be holding against Oklahoma. It looked like Wes Sims may have gotten a little bit of jersey and arm and body and everything else.
Good call, partner. You know what I'm finding interesting early in the game is that when Oklahoma tries to run wide, and watch in the middle, there's the hold right there, number 60, Wes Sims, their starting tackle. When Oklahoma's trying to run wide, Iowa State is actually matching them defensively. And I'm not saying step for step, but they're able to run down plays because John Skladany has done a good job of covering gaps with zone dogs, as he calls them, or zone blitzes, to be able to fill the run gaps. Oklahoma may go back. You may see Chuck Long try and go more downhill running and get up into the line quicker so that they don't have a chance to chase them down.
I mean, Jack Spates, the wrestling coach at OU, saw the way Wes Sims had that takedown. He wants to get him on the map.
Bobby Douglas, the wrestling coach at Iowa State, he's saying, well, you know, I can teach him a few things too.
Right, Oklahoma 0 for 2 on 3rd down tonight. White looking, has time, throws it out on the flat, pass is complete, but it'll be well short of the first down. J.D. Runnels out of Midwest City's Carl Albert High School on the reception. Moser on the stop.
Again, great coverage in the secondary by John Skladany's crew. The cover 2 look, 2 safeties deep on the hash marks, corners rolled up, trying to jam receivers and falling back into coverage. Also using your linebackers to run down the middle of the field to take away the gaps in between. Nowhere to go with the ball there for Jason White.
Blake Ferguson, who went from a 3-step approach to a 2-step approach after having punts blocked earlier in the year. Standing back at his 30. Todd Miller on his 10. High spirally kick. Miller, 15, and steps out of bounds at the 17. 41 yards on the punt. Believe it or not, the NBA returns to TNT on Thursday, October 16th at 10 o'clock Eastern as LeBron James and the Cavs take on Shaq and the new-look Lakers. That'll be coming up at 10 o'clock Eastern time on October 16th. Karl Malone, Gary Payton. Ooh, you gotta love it.
Trying to work them all together, and I have a feeling that Los Angeles team will be a better second-half team as these guys find their way and mesh and try and figure things out, because some guys will have to give up a few shots, won't they? Look at the total yards for the game. Oklahoma's ahead of that. Iowa State hanging tough on defense thus far.
1st and 10, ball on the 16. Wagner breaks through, still on his feet across the 30 up to the 31-yard line. Dante Nicholson on the stop.
Something something you don't see very often for Oklahoma. Number 7, Brandon Everidge. Look to the left of your screen. He's going to come up and try and make the tackle. Michael Wagner slips him and continues downfield before Dante Nicholson, number 8, makes the tackle. Brandon Everidge is an All-American safety. He hasn't missed very many of those. And Michael Wagner made a big-time move in order to avoid him.
On the last 11 games, Iowa State's had only one 100-yard rusher. That was Wagner this year versus Ohio. That was a pickup of 15. Flynn, pass almost picked off. Teddy Lehman had it in his hands and had his sights on the interception, which would have been his second of the year. And that's going to end quarter number 1. But the Oklahoma Sooners, the number 1 team in the country, they've got their hands full after 15. Iowa State trails by 3 from Ames. Welcome back to college football on TBS, part of Big PlayStation Saturday, as we get set to start the second quarter. The top-ranked Oklahoma Sooners leading Iowa State 3-0. Along with Charles Davis, Craig Sager, and Aaron Andrews, I'm Ron Poulin on an absolutely spectacular October night for football. Iowa State only 34 total yards in that opening quarter, now facing 2nd and 10 from their own 31-yard line. Sooners showing blitz, and here they come. Iowa State keeps it on the ground, crossing the 35 as Wagner, Dante Nicholson making the stop.
Previous play, there's nearly an interception. Watch to the left of your screen. You're going to see Lane Danielson run in here and stop and get himself set up for a pass, and Austin Flynn thinks he's going to continue across against the coverage. Lane Danielson read the zone and set up for a pass right in the middle, just sat down on a route. Austin Flynn thought he's going to continue across the zone. A miscommunication. That's one they can't afford. Nearly disastrous.
And Oklahoma now in their dime package, 6 defensive backs. Flynn lofts the pass intended for Danielson, incomplete. Lehman was in on that, and they got all tangled up, didn't know where they were going.
Feared they had 3 people in the area where Lane Danielson was. There's Teddy Lehman trying to bump Danielson off his route, knocks himself to the ground. But look at the coverage there. Derek Strait dropping, and Brandon Everidge coming from the deep secondary over the top.
Penalty flag is thrown, and they're going to fake the punt. Iowa State is going to get the first down pending the flag. Up over the 45 to the 46-yard line. Nick Mosier on the reception.
Great call by Dan McCarney, but if they get a penalty and waste their Phantom Raider, that would be disastrous for them.
Well, it's going to be against Iowa State. You can see
it sure doesn't look good, does it?
No. He says, we called that play. You know, you talk about gutsy calls. How about Bob Stoops doing the same thing in that Alabama game? He rolls the dice. Dan McCarney does it right back to him. Now the officials are really having a powwow on this. We smell coffee perking and fresh bread.
You see Dan McCarney in our super shot. It's almost like basketball, isn't it, where they say teams that press a lot hate to be pressed. About teams that fake punts and all that. Legal procedure. Oh.
I don't think they had enough guys on the line of scrimmage.
No, Dan's all the way out past the numbers to get an explanation on this one, because that's a play you can't run twice.
The kicking team, only 6 men on the line. It'll be 4th down.
Wow.
Yeah, let's take a look at it. We'll count it.
Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Up here at the top is 6. You need 7 on the line,
how about
right?
down the bottom down here?
Down the bottom. See, right here on the bottom, he's off the line.
Yeah.
See where the ball is? He's off the line. Needs to be on in order to give them 7. You have to know your formations, because if you don't know your formations, that's what gets you in trouble. A legal procedure on a big play for them would have kept the ball and had great field position. Now they have to punt it away to Oklahoma.
3 special teams mistakes for Iowa State so far today. This is a driving kick. Perkins between the numbers and the sideline, exactly what they wanted to do, and he is out of bounds at the 20-yard line. 49-yard kick.
Perfect kick, Tony Yelt. Welcome back from your knee injury.
It's time for the Fan Rant, brought to you by Kia Motors, which reminds you to make every mile count. Well, while the fans are ranting, Oklahoma and Iowa State are playing on the field.
I'm voting for Scott Newberry just because he had burgers.
He had some good meat there.
When you have food, I'm for you.
You win with us. Kewan Jones, the sophomore out of Jenks, Oklahoma, on the carry. Pickup of 3 on the play. 13:34 to play here in quarter number 2. Sellout crowd on hand, Oklahoma and Iowa State.
I have to give a lot of credit to Iowa State's defensive front right now without their big stud Jordan Karstens holding up in the run game against Oklahoma.
Kewan Jones joining White in the backfield. White looking for the little slip screen to Jones. He's got running room over the 40 up to the 45-yard line. Joe Woodley coming up from the linebacker spot to make the stop, but not before Oklahoma shows a little speed. And this is a favorite play for the Sooners. Quentin Griffin ran it to perfection over the last few years.
It's almost old-fashioned, isn't it? Or old school, as the fellows would say now, because so many teams are running wide receiver screens as a staple of their offense. You don't see it going to the backs with the same variety that you did previously.
Penalty flag is thrown. Pass is complete to Lance Donnelly, the tight end, over the 30, down to the 28-yard line. But we have a penalty flag back at the 45.
Get the sense Oklahoma's in attack mode. They're very quick to the line of scrimmage, in and out of the huddle right now.
Very much so.
Legal shift.
And we'll bring it back. You know, Bob Stoops does not want to talk about the Texas game, and rightly so. We understand that. I mean, he's had a philosophy since he came to Oklahoma that you earn your stripes every week. Don't worry about the games down the road, and he learned that especially in the 2000 season.
Illegal motion on the offense. The offense was not set. 5-yard penalty, still first down.
It's a different call than he originally gave. He gave a legal shift early. Now it's just a legal motion. Same thing.
But here's Bob that doesn't want to talk about it. But as a former player, what's it like when you have a big game coming up next week?
You can't help but know that it's on the schedule. The key is to show the maturity that your coach is exhibiting and put it on the back burners. He told Craig Sager tonight, no reason to look ahead. What's important is what's happening tonight. And that's his philosophy, and it works very well for him.
First down and 15 for the Sooners. OU already 4 penalties tonight. Keep it on the ground with Jones. He cracks the 50 down to the 48-yard line.
Number 20, Jones, on the carry for
Harold
Oklahoma.
Lewis and Jermaine Billups coming up to make the stop. Does Oklahoma have that breakaway threat in the backfield like they had with Quentin Griffin?
Don't appear to thus far. These guys seem to be more workhorse-type guys. Ronaldo works and Kewan Jones. You get great blocking, they'll pop them for yardage into the secondary, such as Jones did there. But as far as a breakaway threat, nothing like Quentin Griffin. But still, very serviceable backs. And you notice there, I formation, running downhill, helmet on helmet, big gap for Kewan Jones.
16 plays the Sooners have run, 8 pass and 8 run. Their 9th run. Kewan Jones. Yeah, you talk about the balance, and you mentioned it a little bit ago about Oklahoma's balance. Last year, this is how balanced this team got. Only 160 yards separated their running and passing numbers. That's what Bob Stoops wanted to do early on at Oklahoma. He had to throw. And here's a great stat on their offense.
That's what you're talking about right there, 50% both ways. But look at 1999 right there, and then look at 2000 season, heavier on the pass. He needed better athletes in order to get his run game going. And as they've recruited, they've got them.
Hey, if Mike Leach would still be offensive coordinator, it'd be 80-20. Over the middle, pass is complete to Rankins. He's inside the 30 down to the 27-yard line.
Did you say 80-20 for Leach?
At least.
It's really 90-10 because of the swing passes he throws out of the backfield. He counts those as runs. Take a look from Jason White's perspective. Play action out of the shotgun formation. Excellent pass protection by the line. Deep dig route. Deep crossing route for Juwan Rankins. Nice catch. Makes the first guy miss before Mark Timmons, their steadiest cover guy in the secondary, makes the tackle.
Another first down for the Sooners. Got a chance to see Jason White's arm. They keep it on the ground. Kewan Jones, nothing doing. Just a reminder, SI.com is your source for scores and breaking sports news. You know, we saw that pass by Jason White, and we saw Matt Mock a few weeks ago for LSU. White's kind of the classic story. Here's a guy injured the last couple of years, but he became a better quarterback because of it.
Yeah, couldn't use his legs to the same extent because they're worried about his knees. 2 back-to-back ACL surgeries, so he couldn't move around as much, but he got more proficient in the pocket staying in. We saw that with Matt Mock of LSU with a bad foot all spring, and both guys have really benefited from that time.
On 2nd and 12. White's pass complete down to the 17-yard line. Mark Clayton fights his way to the 15, his third reception of the evening. Clayton, the junior out of Arlington, Texas. That was a great example of this OU receiving core, the way Clayton uses his body to get the ball.
Yeah, able to use his body to frame a nice target for his quarterback and shield off the defensive backs. But Jason White, going back to him, you talk about him, using the spring because he's coming back from the injuries. He told us when we talked to him, now I read all my progressions as opposed to 1 or 2 reads and then taking off out of the pocket.
That's right. Pick up the 13 on the play. Runnels and Jones in the backfield. White keeps it. Scrambling, throwing, passes complete to the 5. Touchdown, Jawan Rankins. Jawan Rankins with a touchdown reception, his 3rd of the year.
At the top of our broadcast, we talked about how Iowa State's receivers would have to make tough catches to help their quarterback. Here, Jawan Rankins makes a tough catch to help his quarterback. Absorbs 2 hits and gets into the end zone for the first touchdown of the game.
Trey DeCarlo on for the extra point. He's only missed 1 this year, and he hits the goal post. That's his 2nd miss. Well, the Iowa State Cyclones get a little bit of a break. Bob Stoops says that's all right. We get the pass. White to Rankins. Sooners lead 9-0. Jason White's 12th touchdown pass of the year against his 3 interceptions goes to Jawan Rankins, the sophomore out of Windsor, North Carolina. His first reception of his career at Oklahoma was also a touchdown catch. So the Sooners lead 9-0. Took them 4:05 to go about 79 yards in 8 plays. Banks Mercy and Ellis Hobbs back to receive the kick. 9:53 left in the first half, and it's going to be a short kick. At about the 18-yard line, and they'll scamper up to the 22-yard line. Joe Woodley on the carry. Now it's time for the Best Buy Authority Report, and here's our resident authority, Charles Davis.
Thank you, Ron. I appreciate that. Watch Jason White. He's the quarterback. He's going to come and sprint out to his left side and throw the ball downfield to Jawan Rankins. Now, what makes this play is a good catch by Rankins, but watch how Iowa State helps him. Nick Mosier right here is going to miss a tackle because he comes up and doesn't wrap up, just tries to body block him. Then Ellis Hobbs, number 11, did not break down into good tackling position. Rankins able to shake him also to get into the end zone.
Austin Flynn just 1 of 6 throwing the ball. They're going to throw the little halfback pass wide open. It's Lance Young. He's got some running room inside the 40 down to the 38-yard line. Michael Wagner to Lance Young. Charles, you're laughing because we saw them practice this play on Thursday, and we turned to each other and said, man, we hope they don't run that.
Yeah, because we didn't think Michael Wagner could get it downfield because he was shot putting it, and we saw him on Thursday, and despite the pressure from Jonathan Jackson, number 49, he did get it downfield. Lance Young securing the catch and sprinting into the secondary. Another trick play for Iowa State. This one stands up.
39 yards on the reception. That just about doubled their total output in the first quarter and a half. Flynn keeps it. Dancing around inside the 35 down to the 32-yard line. Dusty Dvoracek, the junior out of Lake Dallas, Texas, on the stop.
Like the play calling by Steve Bricky, the offensive coordinator. They go with the gadget play and then come right back with a zone play. Take a look here, Steve Bricky, right there. He's probably off of his script by now. Scripts the first and second down plays early in the ball game. Right now he's getting into a nice rhythm play calling. Gadget play, come right back with a quick hitter inside with Austin Flynn.
Well, we said they were going to have a few more gadget plays this week. We saw the fake punt. Penalty nullified that, and then we had this one. Brink and Kellogg, 2 tight ends in the lineup. It'll be Wagner right side, tries to get to the 30, and boy, he lowers his head but takes a wallop by Brandon Everidge. Teddy Lehman had the first hit.
Yeah, he didn't make the play, but he forced it deeper. Teddy Lehman, number 11, because when he made the penetration into the backfield, he forced Wagner deeper and wider, which allowed the Oklahoma pursuit to get there and allow the big hit on the sideline.
Well, coaches talk about having athletes on defense. The Sooners have athletes on defense. Everidge was a high school quarterback, 13-1 his senior year. Now he's a big hitter. Then you got Lehman, who's a track guy.
Well, they have athletes on top of athletes, and then they'll bring a few more off the bench, too.
3rd and 2 for Iowa State. Sooners bring 8 in the box. Keeping it on the ground inside the 30 down to the 29-yard line is Wagner. He may be close to our Home Depot 1st and 10 line.
That's going to be very close. Very close. And Dan McCarney right now is making a decision in his mind. If it's 4th down, do we go for it? I think so. Playing #1 team in the country. You got a little momentum built up after a gadget play. Now's not the time to go turtle and duck your head into your shell. Now's the time to go for it.
Well, you got Austin Flynn at 6'1", 186. You don't like him going over the top, and neither do most coaches. Just bury your head.
If he sneaks it, get very low and just push forward.
The numbers on 4th down for the Cyclones. He bobbled the snap. They didn't get it. Wagner didn't have a chance because the snap was bobbled, and Bob Stoops loves it.
Timing was off. Oklahoma buried them in the middle of the line. You know, at that point, I think if you're going to go in the inside there, you just go ahead and take the snap. We talked about it before the play even started. Take the snap and burrow forward. There it is, Ron. You called it. Bobbled snap, throw off the timing. Saw Derek Strait, #2 from the backside. Wayne Chambers, #15. Tommy Harris, 97. Teddy Lehman, 11. Okay, all of them.
Yeah,
okay, they were all in the middle of the play,
Yeah.
stacking it up. A wasted opportunity for the Iowa State Cyclones. When you use a gadget play, it's got to pay off with points.
So they've used 2 gadget plays. Neither one of them have amounted to anything tonight. And that hurts. And Oklahoma quickly on the line.
And look for Oklahoma to try and strike quickly now. Try and catch Iowa State unsettled here after the defensive stand.
Sooners averaging better than 7 yards on 1st down. A little bit shorter this time as Kewan Jones on the carry. Mark Timmons coming up from that free safety spot, the senior out of Bradenton, Florida. This Oklahoma defensive or offensive line, this is a line we talked about how they kind of retooled it. People are saying, hey, you're not running the ball well this year, but people have been stacking 9 in the box against them, and this line is getting better as the weeks progress.
Well, it's smart football to throw the ball when you have weapons to the outside and 9 people are in the box. You know, don't beat your head against a brick wall.
White's pass is incomplete. Let's check in our studios in Atlanta with a little USC update. EJ. Hey, Boz delivered a couple of those in his day as Oklahoma calls a timeout. We had a block like this last year here at Iowa State on Seneca Wallace's great run. There was a block just like that. In fact, it was made by Michael Wagner. Timeout on the field. Sooners lead. But facing 3rd down and 7. They are 0 for 3 on 3rd downs tonight.
Trips to the top of your screen, 3 wide receivers.
3-man rush by the Cyclones. White, plenty of time, throws it underneath, passes complete, 1st down, Oklahoma goes loose. And I think the Sooners may have gotten it back.
Boy, good play by Nick Mosier, #9, the former quarterback and safety. Made the tackle, stripped the ball out, gave Iowa State an opportunity to get the football. They didn't get it, but what a good job, because he didn't just try and make the tackle. Tried to make a tackle and a big play. See right there, Will People. See, now watch Mosier, #9, digging, reaching. See him grab it out of there? The ball gets free, but Oklahoma again on the spot. Is that Brandon Jones?
Brandon Jones,
#81. Good play. That's what they have to continue to do tonight, right. Iowa State.
Closing in on 7 minutes left in the 1st half. Sooners with the football, leading 9-0. Keep it on the ground. Jones, left side, again, a gang tackle. What we're seeing here is Oklahoma, what they like to call attitude runs, running when the other team knows you're going to run.
They're ahead 9-0. Bob Stoops says, I like to think that, you know, I can call a smart football game and allow Chuck Long to do that also. Yeah, you're already ahead in the game. You don't have to always go up top and try and get big plays. Let's continue to work on it. We see the play selection tonight. Almost even, 12 rushes, 13 passes.
Conley switches to the right side. Oklahoma's fumbled twice tonight, hadn't lost any. Little end around with Clayton. He's going to be stacked up right at the 50-yard line. Lost his helmet on the play. This telecast is a copyrighted presentation of Iowa State University, a member of the Big 12 Conference. It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without express written consent of the Iowa State University or the Big 12 Conference.
I know one thing, #9, Nick Mosier, for Iowa State, doesn't have a lot of lead in his behind. All right, he's a little small for a linebacker, but he's playing a heck of a game thus far.
3rd down and 2 for Oklahoma. Iowa State brings 5. White's pass complete, dropped. Will Peoples tried to scoop it off the turf, couldn't do it. And another excellent defensive stand by this Cyclone defense.
It appeared Will Peoples had walled off his coverage. Watch him at the top of the screen, just sits down on a smash route, but the ball's low, unable to hold it. If the ball had been a little bit higher, he would have had 1st down yardage.
Blake Ferguson at his 35-yard line, Todd Miller at his 10. Good snap, driving kick, say goodbye to this one. Cyclones will take over 1st and 10, their own 20 after the 50-yard kick. Oklahoma #1, but they only lead by 9. Dan McCarney has taken Iowa State to 3 straight bowls, and he says it's an honor to play a #1 team, but he also tried to keep his troops on an even keel this whole week during practice.
Yeah, he and John Scladani, the defensive coordinator, corroborated their stories and said, hey, we've got to make sure we stand an even keel, not get too high. We have a lot of Big 12 season left, not put everything into one game. Plus, if you're too high and too emotional, you make more mistakes when you play. All right, let's play at a nice, even pace, and thus far tonight, John Scladani's defense has done it. Now it's up to Steve Bricky's offense to get some points on the board.
Iowa State or Oklahoma sneaking up on the line of scrimmage. Flynn, 3-step drop, pass is complete to Lance Young up to the 30-yard line. His 2nd reception of the evening. Our 1st and 10 line is brought to you by Home Depot. And Iowa State dangerously close to that 1st and 10 line, as Jackie Stewart would say during Indy races.
What a nice 1st down play, though. This allows Steve Bricky some latitude in his play calling on 2nd and short. If he wants to take a shot at it deep, now's a good time.
Flynn rolling, throwing, it's complete up to the 50, 40-yard line. Still on his feet, fumble! Oklahoma's got it! Inside the 40, down to the 38-yard line. Derek Strait coming up with a loose ball. Well, that's a case of you're not knowing who's standing behind you after you catch the ball.
Well, you have to remember traffic. As we take a look, there's Steve Bricky, the offensive coordinator, with his head in his hand. The problem was great play by Whitver. Watch him coming from the outside to the inside. Makes the catch. He tries to get a little bit too much. Now you've got to get upfield, not continue cross field. And you know who made the play from the backside? Tommy Harris, the defensive tackle. That's one of the key traits of a great pass rushing team. You rush the passer. Once the ball's gone, you get back downfield in case you can make a play. There's a turnover situation for the year. That's why Oklahoma's defense is as stout as it is.
Only 2nd fumble loss this year, the 7th since 1997. White's going for the home run ball. Has Bradley. Did he get it? Touchdown, Oklahoma.
How did Mark Timmons, number 18, the free safety, miss the ball? Just from the naked eye, I'll need to see a replay, obviously, but I thought he had a great chance for an interception coming from his free safety position. Well, I was 1 series too late on the home run ball, wasn't it?
That's right.
Chuck Long?
But how many times have we seen it after a turnover?
After a turnover, you go for it. Watch Jason White in the play. Look at the protection. No one near him. See Timmons on the play? He was just a count late, and Ellis Hobbs, number 11, Bradley got behind him. Great concentration by Bradley for another touchdown for Oklahoma.
Mark Bradley's 1st touchdown reception. DeCarlo missed his last extra point. This one is right down the middle. Mark Bradley, the junior from Pine Bluff, Arkansas, with his 1st touchdown reception, and Oklahoma has stretched their lead to 16-0. Jason White with another touchdown pass, and the Sooners lead 16-0, 4:33 left to play here in the opening half. White's strong suit is throwing the long ball.
They told us that when we had meetings with them. You see it on film when you watch them play. And immediately after the turnover, Chuck Long, the offensive coordinator, dials it up. He's done that a couple times this year, trying to strike quickly after a turnover or a key play. And it worked very successfully for the Oklahoma Sooners.
You know, John Scaldani, the #1 key for his defense was avoid bombs.
Yeah,
Boom.
Try to keep him out of big plays. It works very well all the way up to the 4:33 mark of the second quarter. But overall, his defense has played well tonight. The offense has to give them some help.
8 yards deep. Iowa State's not going anywhere. Jason White, who is the #1 person in pass efficiency in Oklahoma history, is having a great night.
Able to sit in the pocket. Look at the time he's getting from his offensive line. His receivers helping him with tough catches. Here's Jawan Rankins avoiding 2 tackles and getting into the end zone. And what we just saw, the home run toss to Mark Bradley, the son of Danley Bradley, a former Oklahoma quarterback.
He won a few games.
And he was pretty darn good too, running the option and running their full offensive package.
Iowa State will take over, going up against an Oklahoma defense that has only given up 13 points in the first half this year, 10 of those coming against UCLA in the opening quarter. Austin Flynn tries to keep it up over the 25-yard line. Nicholson on the stop. Just a reminder to stick around for our Chili's halftime report. Ernie Johnson, Brian Bosworth will catch you up on all of today's action, including Kansas State and Texas, the big battle in Austin, and how about Iowa upsetting Michigan today. And of course, Boz is smiling so much right now, he doesn't have enough Kleenexes to wipe it off. Wasn't that it? Something like that?
He said he needs more than 1 Kleenex to wipe off that after the big hit.
We were close.
Boz dealt out a lot of Kleenex shots in his time, didn't he?
Slobber knockers. Kicking Wagner in the backfield, and they'll try Michael Wagner. Nothing doing. That's called a hit. Dan Cody, the sophomore out of Ada, Oklahoma, lowered the boom on him.
Now isn't Jim Ross the big wrestling guy, a big Oklahoma fan? He's going to love this. Watch this takedown by Dan Cody, number 80. He missed him initially, and then with one hand on the back, pulls him back into the fray. I think you thought you were going somewhere. I think not.
And he was the surprise of the team last year. Had a couple of concussions. They weren't sure how much he's going to be able to play, and he has stepped it up about 4 or 5 notches.
Well, he's playing at an All-American level right now. He didn't get the publicity in preseason, but he's deserving of that type of recognition now.
3rd and 7, the pass from Flynn intended for Lane Danielson, incomplete. Dante Nicholson on the coverage, and we saw Oklahoma that time pressing their corners. And I tell you, Flynn didn't have a whole lot to shoot for.
No, and that was a strong safety running with Lane Danielson, the top receiver for Iowa State, running inside of him. Dante Nicholson weighing 210, 215 pounds, running step for step with what you would think would be a fleeter wide receiver in Lane Danielson. Not on that play.
Well, they have kicked to Antonio Perkins tonight, but they've done a great job on coverage and also using the sideline as their 12th man.
Yeah, I would think to the top of your screen, to the left of your screen is where he wants to go based on where the gunners are.
Tony Yelk tries to angle it to the left side. And it goes out of bounds, but that's a good kick if you're Iowa State. Check out what's coming to TBS. Now the reality right now for Austin Flynn is that he can't get anything going offensively. Iowa State only with 109 yards in this opening half. We have 3:03 to play in the first 30 minutes. And now Oklahoma takes over, 1st and 10. Their own 37-yard line from the shotgun. Jason White throws a little slip screen, works, has some running room, 1st down and then some. Jermaine Billups coming up to make the stop. Once again, you talked about Chuck Long, the former Iowa quarterback, finished 2nd in the closest Heisman vote ever with his play calling, and perfect play call by Long.
He's in a nice rhythm now because they've established the line of scrimmage well enough with their running game. It's not spectacular, but well enough that they're able to do it.
These are ladybugs, by the way, you see.
You know, not really a great shot there. That's him, Chuck Long. All right, he and the Ladybugs are collaborating for a pretty good offensively going game tonight.
Works, tries to get up to the 40-yard line, and he'll be close. Pickup of about 6 on the play as the clock clicks inside of 2.5 in the first half.
You know, I'm struck by the play calling, and they're trying to get downfield with more passes. It smacks of Steve Spurrier.
That's right.
Offensive scheme. You know, Bob Stoops with the Steve Spurrier as the defensive coordinator. And you hear him talk about ball plays now. Never heard ball plays at the University of Oklahoma until the Steve Spurrier influence kicked in.
And Steve's son, of course, was on the staff in the early years of Bob Stoops. They keep it on the ground. Works is able to cross the 35-yard line, gets down to about the 34. Brandon Brown on the stop. But that's what good coaches do. You talked about John Scaldani going to Tampa Bay and picking up a little bit of them.
Yep.
And you have Bob Stoops picking up some ball plays.
And when we talk ball plays, what we're saying are just plays. That's how Steve Spurrier described them. And Bob Stoops, he's the HBC, which means head ball coach. All right, not head coach. He's HBC.
Spurrierisms. White throws in the flat, passes complete, caught at the 28-yard line by Will Peoples, his second reception of the evening. Peoples, the junior out of Humboldt, Texas, which is just outside of Houston.
You know, and this is another ball play. And when we talk about ball plays, it's also a philosophy. Being able to run the football well. Florida's best teams always had 1,000-yard runners. Remember Fred Taylor?
That's right.
All right. So you're always able to run the football and strike downfield in the vertical passing game. That's what Oklahoma's been working on all year.
Legs trying to put his name in the Heisman Trophy race. Little dump pass inside the 15 down to the 13-yard line. It is Ronaldo Works, Jermaine Phillips on the stop. This Oklahoma team not only has 6 excellent receivers, but their backs can catch the ball and get those yards after catch.
And coming into the ball game, Ronaldo Works had 3 catches, Kewan Jones 7, but their big guy catching the ball, even though he only had 5 catches, they always talk about J.D. Runnels, their fullback, as a guy. And tonight, he hasn't been one of those pass receivers, been the other backs. Nice to have a plethora of weapons, isn't it?
Inside of a minute, Charles, here in quarter number 2, a methodical drive by the Sooners, already leading 16-0. 6th play of this drive. White looks left, throws right. Pass is complete, top of the screen to Clayton, and he is dropped at the 10-yard line, stretches over to the 9. Mark Timmons on the stop, and we have a penalty flag thrown. Yeah. Clayton, oh boy, you can see the body language there.
Bubble screen. I think they called a wide receiver an illegal blocker, a hold out wide, trying to aid his teammate. Using both wide receivers to block downfield and throw the screen to the 3rd receiver.
Illegal block in the back, above the waist, 10-yard penalty against the offense. Repeat first down.
You know, Bob Stoops was not sure if he'd ever get Jason White back after the 2 torn ACLs, but this young man out of Tuttle, Oklahoma, and that's a city, by the way, that took it very hard when he blew out his knee last year. But here's a guy that was supposedly locked in a quarterback battle, but this summer they said, no, he's our quarterback, period, and he is having an outstanding year. Straight drop, slips a little bit, looks over the middle, has a man, touchdown, Oklahoma, Mark Clayton. Fourth catch of the night for Clayton, his first touchdown reception this evening.
The pass blocking was so good by the offensive line, it allowed Jason White to slip, gather himself, and still deliver a strike with no one in his face. Watch the big guys up front. They formed the pocket. See White slip? He stepped up, delivered the ball long before anyone from Iowa State could get to him. Plenty of time for Mark Clayton to run the route into the secondary. Touchdown, and now the Sooners will go for 2.
Well, DeCarlo missed that extra point after their first touchdown, and now Iowa State's going to call a timeout with 28 seconds left. Now, you're going to look at the score and say, OU is just really whipping up on them, and you look at the yardage, and they are. But John Scaldani's defense, up until that 4:33 mark here of the second, they were going toe-to-toe and just slugging it out on defense.
Well, they did a good job of stopping Oklahoma without big plays and big points. You know, field goal on the first drive. You know, even when they scored the first touchdown, missed extra point, allowed them to hang in there. They went about 3 or 4 possessions where Oklahoma didn't score at all. Excellent job, but they didn't get the help they needed from their offense, both in terms of long drives and lack of points. And you know, you can only hold in there so long against the offense of Oklahoma without getting some help from the other side of the ball.
Well, just a reminder, next week we are going to make our way to Columbia, Missouri, and so will the Nebraska Cornhuskers, currently ranked number 12, but they'll move up after the win today as the Nebraska Cornhuskers will take on the Missouri Tigers. All gets underway at 7 o'clock Eastern time right here on TBS Superstation. Ernie and Boz back in the studio as usual. Iowa State 0-9 versus top-ranked teams. They've lost to Oklahoma 5 times when they're number 1 and Nebraska 4 times when they're number 1.
It's telling that it's always been conference opponents that's been number 1, but this 2-point conversion, partner, is very important for Iowa State. They need some kind of a lift going into the locker room at halftime. If they could knock this down or stop it, that would really help their attitude going into the half.
Works in motion way on the left side. It's tipped, knocked down, then it's incomplete. Yeah, we have a penalty flag. Well, it looked like there was one thrown, no penalty flag.
Probably bugs.
Now we hear about Jason White and what a special individual he is, and Bob Stoops has been not only a coach to him but also a friend, and he knows his quarterback is special.
I told him in the first game, Jason, this isn't about you. We're a strong team around you. All you got to do is do your part. You don't need to do anything else, nothing super. Just play your part, and there's a great team around you to support you. And I think he realizes that now, and he's more comfortable and relaxed, and he's playing in a great way. And he's a big reason why we're playing so well. But I like to see him enjoying it.
Here's Aaron Andrews. Aaron?
Well, Ron, you and Charles have been talking all night about OU's O-line. Jason White knows how important that O-line is. He treats them to dinner every Thursday night. He told us he likes to pick the buffet places, especially when you have to feed a guy like Wes Sims, who Jason told us eats about everything and anything. He also says whenever they walk into a restaurant, there's an announcement over the intercom trying to let those employees know OU's O-line is here and they mean business.
Aaron, that's great stuff. That code that they're sending out is get more delivery trucks with food in here now.
Now the little pooch kick. Looks like Noah Allen on the carry with 24 seconds left. Take that back. David Banks-Percy on the catch as Oklahoma pooch kicks it again. And I think we've got about 8 million ladybugs. I mean, it's almost hard. It looks like it's raining.
I think that's why you thought there was a flag on the last play.
I think
we thought there were a collection of bugs. But, you know, going back to Aaron's story about the buffet lines, could you imagine being the owner, a proprietor of one of those places, and you see those big guys come in? What you hope is they come in once and then give you about a month off so you can restock.
There you go. Well, the Golden Corral in Norman, Oklahoma probably is loading up on beef right now. Well, Iowa State has 24 seconds to work with. They kept it a close game until just about 4 minutes ago. Instead of sitting on it, Flynn's going to go for it. Tucks the ball, gets up to the 30s, got some running room. To midfield, being chased down from behind as he crosses the 45 down to the 43-yard line. Dante Nicholson putting on the afterburners.
And they get the timeout essentially because you have to move the chains for the first down, but they're going to go ahead and take a full one. You often hear about using misdirection against a team with a lot of speed. This wasn't a called misdirection play, but cutting back against the grain was Austin Flynn, number 8. And he used his speed to get into the secondary before Dante Nicholson ran him down from behind. A huge play for Iowa State. This gives Steve Brickey a few options as the offensive coordinator. If they got nothing on the first down, you probably take a knee and go into the locker room. There's Austin Flynn's numbers in the first half. Hasn't had much time to throw the ball, but that last sprint really boosted up his rushing numbers.
Well, Austin Flynn, the son of 2 coaches, his mom and dad both coaches. His mom's been the one that is really the critiquer of the family, shall we say, and he spoke very highly of her mom. Don't worry about it. But here's a young man that was wanted to be a leader as a quarterback. In fact, so much that his freshman year of high school, he took a class called Team Leadership. He said it changed his life. And coming in as a redshirt quarterback and a freshman is not an easy chore to lead a Big 12 team.
Yeah, he learned about leadership techniques and philosophies and the makeup of great leaders, as well as public speaking, being able to talk to groups and how you do it, and that allowed him to mature quickly. His parents, Harold and Rita, are both middle school coaches. And you're right about he said mom's the one who, Dad always says, hey, you know, not a bad game, son, here's a lifesaver. Mom's like, listen, you missed 3 open receivers. What's going on?
Well, Austin Flynn has 13 seconds to work with. Sooners on the blitz with 6. Coming from the backside, Flynn is going to be ducked back at the 49-yard line. Dusty Dvoracek, we've called his name a ton tonight. And Iowa State will burn their final timeout with 4 ticks left on the clock.
And I like that, too. No sense going into the locker room when you still have a timeout left.
Right.
And the ball's at midfield. You might as well take a shot at a Hail Mary down in the end zone, try and get some points before the half's over. Good job by Dan McCarney and his offensive crew.
It's not like they're green stamps. You can turn it in for a toaster,
no,
you know?
You can't carry it over to the second half at all.
USA Today is the place for a comprehensive look at sports. Get all the latest scores, stats, standings, and game recaps to keep you up to date with your favorite teams and players. Only in USA Today. Dan McCarney knew that it would be an uphill battle tonight. He had a great deal of respect for the Oklahoma Sooners, but he knew his team would come out scratching and clawing. They've done just that. But sometimes you just get knocked around. because you're just not as physical as the other team, and you can see the numbers. Last time they beat a high-ranked opponent was 11 years ago, and that was the Cornhuskers.
Yeah, and they tied what, number 5 Oklahoma in 1981 in Norman. So Iowa State's always had trouble with those types of teams, but you know, it's funny we show those numbers. Who hasn't? When you're talking about an Oklahoma and a Nebraska, everyone had trouble with those teams. That's not unusual. Now here if you're Iowa State, you want max protect, get your receivers downfield. You'll probably face a 3-man rush from Oklahoma. The last thing you want to do here is take a sack, give Austin Flynn a chance to fling it as deep as he possibly can and make a play.
Final 4 seconds of the opening half. Flynn seeing a blitz, throwing this prayer up. He's got 3 red jerseys and a bunch of white, and that could have been a penalty. And it is caught down at the 12-yard line, but time will run out. Lane Danielson with the circus catch, and Austin Flynn took a hit when he let it go. Teddy Lehman is the one who lowered the boom on Danielson, but that's the way the first half will end. Sooners led 3-0 after 1, but the Sooners lead, and here's Bob Stoops with our Craig Sager.
Well, Coach, the scoreboard reads 22-0, but how do you feel your Sooners have played?
Well, I'd like to play a little better. We were pretty fortunate on a few turnovers, and we dropped the ball a time or two and got them back, but it's not bad to be up 22.
Your defense obviously coming up with big plays. Do you think they can shut them out?
Well, we'll see. We need to play a little better on defense in a few areas, letting a few plays go, so we'll work on it.
All right, thanks a lot. Ryan?
All right, Craig, that concludes the first half of college football on TBS, a part of Big PlayStation Saturday. Oklahoma leads at 22-0. Now let's go to Studio A with Ernie Johnson.
All business also. Oklahoma takes on Texas, and we begin the...
And it'll be Tony Yell kicking it away. Good crowd on hand tonight. Perfect weather for football. Juwan Rankins and Antonio Perkins back. Oklahoma hasn't had a whole lot of practice in kickoff returns this year. Kind of an odd formation. A driving kick. And it'll be Rankins at about the 5. He is wrapped up as he crosses the 15 up to the 17-yard line. Woodley on the stop. Just a moment ago, Craig Sager had a chance to talk with Iowa State head coach Dan McCarney.
Well, Coach, some spirited stops by your defense, but what do you have to do to score?
Well, we've got to make some more plays. We got to execute. You know, we moved the ball 170 yards, which isn't great, but you should have some points on the board. We got to come out and execute, especially in the throwing game right now. Give Austin a chance. He's a pretty good player if you give him time. And defensively, when you're down 3 touchdowns, Craig, we got to come back and get some turnovers second half.
A fake punt and also a halfback pass. Do you have any other gadget plays up your sleeve?
We got a couple more. We'll see if they work.
All right, thanks a lot. Back to you, Ryan.
All right, Oklahoma goes to work on offense, swinging it out up to about the 29-yard line. Another first down for Oklahoma, picking up what Dan McCarney said, and that's been a problem with Iowa State this year. They're putting up numbers, they're just not putting up points.
And he talked about turnovers. In Iowa State's 2 recent best seasons, 9-3, 7-5, both bowl appearances, they were plus in the turnover ratio. +5, I believe, one year, +12 another year. This year they came into the game even, which reflected their record of 2-2. So we take a look at their averages, and they are average in everything that they've done thus far this season.
Well, Oklahoma's going to keep it on the ground. They've had a great combination of running and pass plays. In fact, it's 35 plays total. 20 are pass and 15 have been rushes so far. Ronaldo works on the carry. And Bob Stoops, that's what he wants to do. He's working on that running game, working on that blocking, and getting that big offensive line some reps, as they say.
Yeah, but the numbers do reflect the philosophy and style of this ball club. And we say, there it is, the passing yard is 225, the bulk of their yards. But Chuck Long told us, we are a team that passes to set up the run.
White on a little draw, and they're going to stack it up. The Iowa State defense back at the 30-yard line. Nick Mosier on the stop. That'll be a loss of about 4 on the play. Mosier with 6 tackles already tonight.
And I got excited about that young man in the first half.
Yeah.
And he's come out to start the second half. Doesn't have his head down because they're down 22-0. Decided, hey, someone's got to make a play. Why not me? And now they have Oklahoma in a 3rd down situation. They would love to get off the field to start the second half.
OU only 1 of 5 on 3rd down tonight. White from the gun. No pressure. Has Long over the middle. Pass almost intercepted. Steve Paris coming up from that free safety spot. Paris, the sophomore out of Roosevelt High School in Dallas, Texas. And On their first possession, OU's going to have to kick it away.
And John Skladany's going to place a phone call to Monty Kiffin, the defense coordinator of Tampa Bay
That's
Buccaneers,
right.
and say thank you very much for the time this offseason. Again, a cover 2 Mike look, meaning they take the middle linebacker, 2 deep safeties, run him down the middle to fill in the gap. He was on the coverage on that play.
Ferguson with a driving kick. Penalty flag has been thrown back at the 25-yard line. Not much on the return. 42 on the kick, 4 on the return by Todd Miller. And we have a penalty flag sitting back at the 30-yard line. I think it's going against Oklahoma. Illegal formation, maybe. Dan McCarney, I tell you what.
Illegal formation on the kicking team. 5-yard penalty. Repeat, 4th down.
You know, you look at Dan McCarney. He is an incredibly nice man. He's done a great job, and I remember just probably 4 or 5 short years ago that he wasn't sure if he's ever going to be at Iowa State. Now his contract goes to 2010. But here is a guy that never blames his players or his assistant coaches for losses. He's got coaches surrounding him that are not only his friends, but they're fiery. They got great enthusiasm.
And he's able to retain them with the help of the administration. Gene Smith, his former athletic director, now at Arizona State. Bruce Vandevelde now here at Iowa State. They've done a great job giving him a support system to keep his staff intact and allow this program to move forward.
On Iowa State, they're first.
Now, you know, they always hear about the first guess.
Yeah.
I'm wondering here about making them punt again. The field position wasn't bad.
Wasn't bad.
You know, it wasn't bad. I don't know if I want to take a chance of handling the ball again, but as they say, he knows a heck of a lot more about football than I do. And right now, he's preaching to his guys about sideline etiquette.
Well, you know what, though? It's kind of a warm night, and the air gets a little thick. The ball gets a little slick. You got to be careful. Now they're going to try it again from the 10-yard line. Todd Miller standing at his 27-yard line. A shorter kick. Miller running up. Signals for a fair catch right at the 40-yard line, so they do get a little better field position. 35 yards on the kick. Let's take a look at our scoring summary from the first 30 minutes of play. Rankins from White, 15-yard touchdown reception. Made it 9-0, and then how about Bradley from 39 yards out? That was a great pass.
A great pass and a great catch. Concentration for him to catch between 2 defenders before Clayton on the crossing route with plenty of time to throw the ball for Jason White, given to him by his offensive line. I mean, I was so impressed by that one because Jason White totally slipped, gained his balance, and stepped into that throw.
Well, let's see if Iowa State can do something on their first possession here at quarter number 3. Just about 2 minutes gone by here in the third. Here comes a little gadget play. They get it up to Danielson, trying to run the reverse, and that quick Oklahoma defense just swarms them over. Brodney Poole leading it. Dusty Dvoracek again helping out on the stop. I tell you, this Dvoracek, he had first 2 years he had no starts. Now his 5th start. He is everywhere.
Great play, but watch this guy, Jonathan Jackson, number 49. He's a BCR player on this play. That's bootleg, cutback, reverse responsibility. See how he got as deep as Lane Danielson? Forced the play inside. That allowed Brodney Poole and Dusty Dvoracek and Derek Strait to come over and make the tackle.
You know, you mentioned Jackson. The coaches told us he's a student of the game. He loves watching film. Pick that one out. They keep it on the ground, straight ahead running, up over the 40, close to the 45-yard line. It's Michael Wagner, Nicholson on the stop. Well, they wanted to try to run the ball against this Oklahoma defense, which is so difficult. Not too many people have been able to do it.
It's a good run by Michael Wagner. Didn't go laterally, jammed it inside. And you talk about them trying to run the ball. Only 23 yards out of their starting tailback. Young has 2 receptions for 48, and Dan McCarney said it best. Austin Flynn's a good quarterback, but we have to give him time to throw the football.
And he hasn't had that so far tonight. Well, you see the Sooners showing about 7 on the line. They bring 5. Flynn looking, has a little bit of time down the sideline, has a man intercepted. Underthrew his receiver, and Brodney Poole was there for his 2nd interception of the year.
As nice as the interception was by Poole, you nailed it. The ball was underthrown. On this route, he has the receiver on the sideline going down it. The ball has to have more air under it and give him an opportunity. That was number 82, Lane Danielson, who had to try and come back for the ball. Great interception by Brodney Poole, but Austin Flynn will learn as he gains more experience more air under the ball, give him a chance on the sideline. That ball was thrown on a line with no loft.
Well, since Bob Stoops took over, the Oklahoma Sooners have had at least 88 interceptions. That's the best in the NCAA. That showed it there. Now Iowa State, a little confusion on defense. Is White quickly in the shotgun, Donnelly in motion. Little play action, throws out in the flat to Donnelly, lowers his shoulder, gets up close to the first down line. Mark Timmons tried to put a body on him.
Almost like a line out of Top Gun. You know, when they're up in the air and they're going through their dog fights, multiple missiles, multiple bogeys, right?
Yep.
Well, that's what Oklahoma was, multiple on that play. Donnelly, starting on one side, 4 receivers, motioning back against it, running flow towards the wide side, coming back short side with Donnelly going against the wash to catch the pass.
And that tight end is a work in progress for this Oklahoma team.
Well, you know, it's not Trent Smith.
No, it isn't. They keep it on the ground, running room galore, and Ronaldo Works being pulled down by Mark Timmons, but not before he gets close to the 45-yard line.
Yeah, you mentioned the tight end. You know, that's what you're looking at there, is you're trying to see, you know, how you can get him more involved, even though he's not a great pass catcher. Look at all the numbers tonight. White, 236 passing. Works 50 yards running the ball. Clayton has had a big night catching the football, maximizing his 4 receptions. But, you know, they're trying to find that one guy to be the tight end. Kevin Sumlin, their new tight ends coach, said, hey, I'm going to keep it out till someone establishes himself.
Well, Donnelly and Moses, both pretty good players. 3rd down and a yard. White plenty of time. Has a man streaking down the left sideline. Should have been intercepted. Incomplete. Iowa State has dropped 5 interceptions already this year, and Timmons makes it 6.
You have to come up with a play when you get a chance. A lost opportunity is never regained. That was beaten into me as a player. Watch as he looks downfield looking for Rankins, and actually he had a receiver underneath wide open, and Lance Donnelly, the tight end, and he tried to go for the big strike. Jason White, very fortunate that Mark Timmons did not come down with this interception.
2nd down and 10. Clayton in motion. White fakes right, looks for a little wide receiver screen, gets it over to Will Peoples. He has some running room inside the 25. Look out! Touchdown, Oklahoma! "45 yards for Will Peoples."
John Scladani's expression says it all there, the defensive coordinator. A flare screen. You fake the flare to the wide side, come back short side to the wide receiver screen, jailbreak type screen, taking your linemen and pulling them out of the line and kicking out. But the big key there for Iowa State was missed tackles. Brandon Brown, their leading tackler, number 33, coming from inside out, missed Will Peoples on the sideline, allowed him to sprint into the end zone.
Well, DeCarlo will try to tack on the extra point. Didn't take him long. Good hold and a good kick. Will Peoples with the touchdown. The junior out of Humboldt, Texas, didn't play in the first 2 games because of injury, but he's making his mark tonight. The top-ranked Oklahoma Sooners showing everybody why they are number 1. They lead 29-0, 10:50 to go here in quarter number 3. Part of the reason is because of their quarterback, Jason White. He has had another outstanding game, All-American type game.
Well, it helps when you're able to throw from the rocking chair.
Yeah.
You know? when you don't have a lot of pressure against you, that helps a lot. Offensive line's played very well for them tonight.
3 yards deep. Banks. Mercy looking to the left side, trying to find some running room up over the 30 to the 31-yard line. Now it's time for the Best Buy Authority Report, and here's our President Authority, Charles Davis.
But when you have time to throw, you will have better numbers, and Austin Flynn has not had that. Look at that. Hurries, hits, knockdowns, 3-time sack, 1 interception, and it could have been worse. And on the flip side, zeros all across the board for Jason White. The closest I remember was a touchdown pass to Jawan Rankins, where a pursuing lineman had him by the ankle, and he pulled away and threw the touchdown pass.
Numbers on the right look like your test scores. Number on the left look like mine. They keep it on the ground. 10:36 to go. Stevie Hicks. This is one of the young men we thought would see some action tonight. The redshirt freshman out of Omaha, Nebraska from Creighton Prep. He hurt his toe about 10 days into practice, had a very, those kind of hurt, those turf toes, and he just wasn't up to full speed, and now they think he's about 100%.
Yeah, it's one of those injuries that sounds benign. People say turf toe, you ought to be able to play with it. Turf toe is when you're pulling, ligaments away from bone,
that's right.
And the area fills with blood and it swells. They couldn't even get a shoe on him for a while, so he's just now getting his legs back under him.
Well, he picked up a couple on the play. 2nd down and 8. Left side banging up over the 35-yard line. This Hicks again. Tommy Harris on the stop. This Hicks, they want to see this young man in the open field, and we've got a player down, an Iowa State player.
Did you notice the hit by Tommy Harris?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, as soon as he hit Stevie Hicks, he was down. Boom, down. Talk about running into the Great Wall.
Well, you got to love Tommy Harris, the junior out of Ellison High School in Killeen, Texas. They call him Preacher. Watch this hit, though. He ministers the slam on this one.
How he just moves laterally down the line. Boom, what a lot of linemen in the old days called playing the piano. Able to move up and down the line laterally, and then going into the gap and delivering the big hit.
Well, Luke Vandersanden is the player who's injured. We'll take a break and update his condition when we come back. Ames, Iowa, just about 45-50 minutes from the capital of Des Moines, Iowa, where the #1 Oklahoma Sooners lead Iowa State 29-0, and we've got 9:39 left to play here in quarter number 3. Iowa State with the football. 3rd down and 6. Vandersanden, by the way, did walk off the field. We'll get an update as soon as it becomes available to us. Flynn slips away, crosses the 35 up to about the 39-yard line. And we want to remind you again, federal law says that they don't have to tell us what the injury is. So we just want to make sure you understand that. It's not the teams anymore. It's our government as they work on that right leg.
Yeah,
we won't speculate what it is.
Now they call it the HIPAA Act. Health and protection.
Number 14, Yelk.
The player gets to decide whether he wants information released or not.
Now Yelk's going to punt again. Yelk has done a fantastic job tonight. You look at that average. Look at the net, though. How about that?
Yeah, no real returns. Actually got a fumble one time.
And only 1 return yard tonight for the Oklahoma Sooners. Fair catch is called for at the 16-yard line. Oklahoma will take over. Well, Oklahoma has been having quite an auction going on in Norman. With more on that, here's Aaron Andrews.
Well, first, a little history lesson for you, Ron. As you know, Oklahoma has a long line of great coaches. One of the greatest, Bud Wilkinson. Now, during his 16-year tenure, he led his team to 3 national championships, also an NCAA record 47-game win streak. Now, during Oklahoma's season opener against North Texas, they wore the replica jerseys from the Wilkinson era. They just did an auction on the internet. They raised over $30,000. Now that money went to a fund to post grad scholarships for OU athletes. Guys, by the way, Tommy Harris's jersey raised the most money, $1,700.
I'll tell you what.
Wow.
Why did they put Boz's jersey in?
Wow. Well, they may have, but Tommy
plays now. Yeah, but throw Boz in.
If Boz's went. Okay, you can't put him in with the same guys now because that just skew the whole money thing. Because Boz is that'd cause a riot. As people are trying to get to that jersey, the money go way high. But there's the big fella, Tommy Harris, and he's played as befits a jersey going for $1,700 tonight.
I'll tell you, he's up for the Lombardi, the Nagurski, and the Outland Trophy.
He might win all 3.
Jason White throwing in the flat passes, complete to Peoples up over the 25 to the 27-yard line. 4 receptions tonight for Will Peoples, the junior out of Humboldt, Texas, and he's the top returning receiver. I mean, talk about this offense. Here you lose your top receivers, your top runners, and you're still putting points on the board, and you got guys like Peoples and Jones and Bradley and Clayton. That's called reloading.
Yeah, that's the product of an example of a mature program where you continue to recruit and fill in the gaps behind people so you're always ready to go. That way you're not using excuses. Look at Lance Mitchell, their starting linebacker who went out. No excuses. Put Wayne Chambers in. Let's continue to play.
They're down in a single yard. They go right up over the middle, up to the 30-yard line as Kewan Jones, and he gets the first down. Jermaine Billups keeps him from getting any more.
First down.
And the Sooners continue to march as we're inside of 8 minutes here in quarter number 3.
You just talked about Will Peoples. We saw him make a great leaping touchdown catch last year against South Florida. But just hearing his name And the report Aaron gave us about Tommy Harris's jersey, you know, does that make Tommy Harris the people's choice?
I'd say he is. He's my people's choice award.
Taking Will's name away from him?
Hey, any defensive lineman that sings the national anthem's all right in my book, but Tommy Harris did.
And who's going to stop him if he sings poorly?
That's right. I'm not going to say anything. On 1st and 10 from the 30, Mark Clayton pays for the reception. Got a little sandwich in on that one, but Clayton another reception, the junior out of Arlington, Texas.
Well, this is why Jason White can have such a rhythm too, because even if he doesn't throw a perfect ball, chances are his receivers are going to come down with it. We talked about this at the beginning of the game tonight about Iowa State's receivers. They had to make difficult catches to help their quarterback. Well, they haven't had the same number of opportunities, but all night long we've seen Oklahoma's guys come down with balls even if they're not perfectly thrown.
White over 300 yards passing. They keep it on the ground with Jones. Running room to spare over the 40 down to the 37-yard line. That offensive line is doing a great job. Fans, for exclusive news and recruiting coverage of your favorite teams, log on now to Rivals.com. Let's get an update on Van der Sanden from our Craig Sager. Thanks.
Well, around the training staff, Mark Coberly and everybody have been examining Luke on the sidelines. However, they did not find much stability in his right knee, so he is definitely out for the game. He had a broken leg last year, but that's his other leg, but his right knee is definitely out for the night.
And that's too bad because that was a young man who broke his leg last year, Craig, in preseason, missed a few games, came back for our game and broke it again.
White slips again, and then again he throws a touchdown pass to Clayton, and we have a penalty flag thrown. Is that a design play where he slips and then throws a touchdown pass?
It's working awfully well, and we're getting double moves downfield out of the wide receivers.
Yeah, but it's coming back.
That's like a spur your ball play right there.
That's a ball play.
You know, get downfield, giving double moves, showing a kind of going upfield, showing the corner route, and then breaking off to the post.
Holding on the offense, 10-yard penalty, repeat first down.
Now the Sooners only average about 6 penalties a game, and they've got 6 tonight.
You know, the only way you can run good double move routes downfield that deep is to get great protection, and this time they got a little bit of extra protection. Watch the offensive line for Oklahoma as Jason White goes back into the pocket. Doing a great job, holding him up, looking for the hold, May have been at the top of the screen. I saw Jamal Brown, 55. He and another Sooner locked up on someone, but the officials detected it.
Now on 1st and 10, they'll keep it on the ground. Bouncing to the outside, it's Works. Looking for the 40-yard line, lowers his head and gets down to the 38-yard line.
So you think that Chuck Long's going to put the slip in terms of a ball play now? Jason, go back in the pocket and slip a little bit,
and then
set up and throw to Mark Clayton, because it's happened to him both times.
Yep.
Both times that's where the ball is gone.
There's Chuck Long up in the booth.
There he is.
You know, Chuck Long's improved his life, though. He was a doublemint guy in the NFL. It was a superstition thing. He said his kid said, "Dad, Dentine." Yeah. Dentine. His wife said, "You got to start." So now he's chewing Dentine. Little useless trivia that Ernie will talk about later.
But Joey, you're going to lose that fight at home. If the kids and mom gang up on you, that's what you're going to do.
Will Peoples with his 5th reception. That ties Mark Clayton for the lead tonight, and another first down for the Oklahoma Sooners. So when does Bob Stoops, with 5:50 left in the third here, take out the first teamers and say, okay, guys, let's start thinking Cotton Bowl next Saturday?
Well, I think he would like to see this drive finished off impressively before he thinks about removing people. I think that he doesn't want them to come out with a bad taste in their mouth. He'd like to see them finish this one up and then possibly start to move some people into the lineup to get them some work.
Well, the way this drive has gone, this is the 8th drive, and it's already about 4 minutes old when they go to the end of the quarter. Quick pass out in the flat to Brandon Jones. Got some running room. He gets up to the 20-yard line with 5:43 to play in the quarter. That'll be short of the first down. Brandon Jones' first reception tonight. Jones, the junior out of Texarkana, Texas. Here's a guy that had some problems in that UCLA game. He had something like 3 drops in the game. Get balls that should have been caught. Now Luke Van der Sanden is in the golf cart, and he's headed to the locker room. He's done for the evening, as Craig Sager told you about a minute ago.
That's too bad. That young man's had some tough luck the last 2 years with injuries.
Oklahoma's Ronaldo Works now. Gets down to the 10-yard line. Speaking of 10, how about 10 different receivers have caught balls tonight for the Sooners?
And what we're seeing now also is that the running game is improving as Luke Van der Sanden goes to the locker room. appears to be his mom trailing behind. See his mother?
Yeah.
I see her right in the left. Here she comes. There's Mrs. Van der Sanden going to check on her son, and we certainly hope he's going to be okay.
16 players now on Dan McCarney's team have missed games or are going to miss games because of injury. That's a lot because these guys were all starters.
And they were so healthy the last 2 or 3 seasons. It's catching up with them apparently.
Another quick pass to Travis Wilson. He gets down to the 5-yard line. This Oklahoma offense is so impressive because they use the entire field.
Yeah, multiple in formations, plenty of motion. A lot of times they just want to make sure that you adjust so that if you don't, remember early in the game, Iowa State didn't adjust to a formation. They hit an uncovered receiver right away, just raised up and hit him. And what they've done also by using the whole field and spreading things out, the run game inside has become more impressive as the game has gone along, partly due to the fact that Iowa State's defense has been on the field most of the game. I think they're getting very, very tired.
Well, they got 4 minutes left to play in the quarter. 29-0. Oklahoma knocking on the door again with Works. Inside the 5 down to about the 3-yard line. You know, we talked about those Iowa State injuries, and here's just a quick peek of what they've had to go through. Tyson Smith gone. Yelk missed a couple of games. Hiawatha Rutland. Boy, we saw that injury, and that was one of those you have to turn your head on. Bob Montgomery gone. Jordan Karstens out tonight.
Yeah, they're hopeful they'll get Karstens back next week.
Speaking of Hiawatha Rutland right there on the crutches. Craig Sager, what do you have for us?
I have one more to add to your list. Jason Berman hurt his right knee. He is through for the night as well.
Oh my, just keeps piling up. 3rd down and 5. White, the lob pass into the end zone, incomplete, no flag. Intended for Mark Bradley, good coverage on the play. That'll bring up a 4th down and goal. Ellis Hobbs on the coverage.
Trying to throw the fade ball. Mark Bradley one-on-one with Ellis Hobbs. Ball's thrown to the corner. Good coverage by Ellis Hobbs. Not allowing Mark Bradley to get position on him. Able to help knock the ball away.
Now, we thought that they'd try to go to that pass a little bit more because the cornerbacks of Iowa State are 5'7" and 5'8".
Yeah, Mark Bradley 6'2", but good positioning by Ellis Hobbs prevented that play from being successful.
Well, DiCarlo, who already has a 32-yarder in the book, they're going to spot this at about the 13. That'll be a 23-yard attempt by DiCarlo. Almost tipped. May have gotten just in that eyelash on it, but it is good. Well, Hobbs did his part. He tried to knock it down to no avail. With 3:18 left in the 3rd, the Sooners lead it 32-0. Welcome back to Ames, Iowa, where the #1 Oklahoma Sooners throwing the shutout tonight, 32-0 on the Iowa State Cyclones. It was only 3-0 after the first quarter. Then with about 4:33 left in the half, the floodgates started to open for Oklahoma, and they're just adding on here in the second half. It's Trey DiCarlo, a couple of field goals tonight. Set to kick it away. David Banks-Bursey and Todd Miller back to receive the kick. And a left-footed kicker DiCarlo. Great short stubble kick again. At the 15-yard line, Banks-Bursey. And he is going to be stacked up at the 23-yard line. Well, in the second quarter, Jason White hooked it up with Clayton for a touchdown for Oklahoma. Here's a total motion with Bob Berry.
Almost fell down. Throws one in the end zone. Clayton. Touchdown, Oklahoma. Great catch. What a throw by White as he almost fell down. He stood up and then fired the pass, and Clayton caught it. A great catch by Clayton.
Interesting look at the touchdown. There's Bob Berry and Merv Johnson, former Oklahoma assistant head coach under Barry Switzer on your left. Bob Berry has been in Oklahoma for years and been the voice of the Sooners for a long time and one of the truly great men in this business. Flynn's going to keep it still on his feet as he crosses the 35-yard line. Wayne Chambers, that sophomore out of Grandview, Missouri, on the stop. Here's Wayne Chambers, who has to fill some pretty hefty shoes. And 3 months ago, Chambers didn't even know if he's going to be playing football. He went to a party, fight broke out, tried to break it up, and he ended up with a bullet in his abdomen, broke his pelvis, and now he's back on the football field. Incredible story.
He still has the bullet lodged in his hamstring. Says he can feel it, but he can't feel the bullet, but he gets some pain from time to time. But what a great job he's doing on the field, filling in for the All-American Lance Mitchell.
Oh, Flynn is tossed aside by Larry Burdine, the Redford freshman out of Lawton, Oklahoma. That's his second sack of the night. Our 1st and 10 line is brought to you by Home Depot. You know, we see Larry, number 92 of the Oklahoma Sooners. This is a young man the coaches are so proud of. Came into the game with 2 sacks in the last 3 games. And he's got a couple of tonight, and he's only a redshirt freshman.
And he was so impressive last year that when they had injuries along the defensive front, they almost took the red shirt off of him late in the season, but decided to hold it.
Once again, no time, and once again, it's Wayne Chambers. 5 sacks by this Oklahoma defense tonight, and the Iowa State offensive line only gave up 6 coming into this game. We talked about at the top of the show, Flynn needs time, and he's not getting it.
Well, the Iowa State defense is tired, understandably, because of all the time they've spent on the field tonight trying to stop Oklahoma's offense. I think the Iowa State offensive line is tired also due to the relentless pressure that's been placed on them by Oklahoma. 5 sacks tonight. We saw all the hurries and knockdowns and hits that Austin Flynn has taken. This defensive line has been overwhelming.
3rd down and 23. The Cyclones 0 for 8 tonight on 3rd down, and this has been their Achilles heel this year already. They dump it underneath to Danielson. Tries to get up to the original line of scrimmage and does before he's dragged down by Teddy Lehman. A pickup of 14 on the play. But it'll be 4th down for Iowa State. Tell you just can't say enough about this Oklahoma defense. They're going to have their hands full next week because Chance Mock is doing a great job for Texas. And you throw Vince Young into the mold and that fine wide receiver core of Texas, it's going to be a battle in Dallas next Saturday afternoon.
That's going to be a fun one to watch, isn't it? And we saw Lane Danielson, number 82, get up slowly and appeared to be a little weary. He's also one of the gunners on the punt team, having to chase down the punt by Tony Yelk.
And another good punt by Yelk. Good, meaning Perkins doesn't return it for a touchdown. He had 3, of course, already this year against UCLA. Well, this week's installment of Home Depot Building a Team features Oklahoma versus ranked teams. And it's quite a difference between the span of 1994 to 98. That's what they were. How about 99 to 03? That's a complete reversal, courtesy of Mr. Bob Stoops.
Wow. And the teams were led by, in 94 to 98, John Blake, in one season, I believe, of Howard Schnellenberger. And then Bob Stoops comes in and gets right to it, doesn't he?
You got to love the top 10 teams, though. The only loss for Oklahoma then, it was Nebraska, the top 10 team. And you can see the top winning percentage. How about 839 for Bob Stoops?
And that was a Nebraska team that played for a national championship that year.
They're going to keep it on the ground. Brandon Jones, little pass there, little catch and run. Brandon Jones out of Texarkana, Texas.
You're pretty close there, though, Pards, because that's almost a long handoff.
It's what it kind of looked like.
I mean, just flinging it out to the right, trying to get some blockers in front. You know, we always talk about these long handoffs nowadays, and
that's right.
Depending on what you need for your stats, a lot of teams, it'll either be a lateral or a pass downfield. I always tell the story about Earl Campbell's rookie year with the Houston Oilers. He had a game against the Atlanta Falcons. They threw a lateral pass to him that went down as a pass in the stats and a 74-yard touchdown. Then later on, they said, well, if we make it a rushing play off of a lateral, Earl has a big 160-yard rushing day or something like that. Guess what it got flipped to?
Oh, it's
a lateral and a run.
It's a lateral and a run. It's the home team stats, right?
You know, and it just depends on what you need to get your big guys some stats, as they're just a little bit short of our Home Depot first down line.
Well, the Sooners are short on the first down as we're inside of the final minute here in quarter number 3. Bob Stoops, the only coach in Oklahoma history to take his first 4 teams to bowl games, knocking on the door for number 5, and that is a very telling stat. Only 28 yards in the second half for Iowa State.
As they say, that won't get it done.
No, it won't. Oklahoma on 2nd and 1. Jones gets the first down and then some. Well, you talk about national championships at Oklahoma. 7 have been won. How about Bud Wilkinson? 50, 55, 56. Barry does it 74, 75. Then that great team in 85. And Bob Stoops puts his name on the list. 2000, will 2003 be number 8? A lot of football left, as they say.
And he's a guy that embraces being number 1 in his team. You know, they don't shy away from it and say, oh, we like to come from off the pace. Hey, we're number 1. We like to go out every week and prove that we're number 1. Pretty impressive.
White looks over the middle, pass complete up to the 40-yard line. Travis Wilson again with the football, and he gets down to the 33. 3 catches tonight for Travis Wilson, the sophomore out of Carrollton, Texas.
You know, the cover 2 that we talk about with the 2 deep safeties often has trouble with vertical routes running up in the seams. That's exactly what Travis Clayton did on that, Travis Wilson did. Right up the seams, up the hash, bent in a little bit towards the middle. Perfectly thrown ball by Jason White.
Now that's going to end quarter number 3. Iowa State with only 195 yards in the ball game. They're 0-10 when they gain under 250 yards and only 1-21 under 300 yards. The Sooners are rolling with 15 minutes to play. 32-0. Along with Charles Davis, Craig Sager, Aaron Andrews, I'm Ron Thulin, and well, the band still has something to cheer about. The Cyclone faithful still up in the stands. It was a sellout crowd at the start of the game, but a lot of people have headed to the exits already, except that fine sorority.
The Hale and Hardy.
That's it. Now the Oklahoma Sooners staying with Jason White, and this is kind of a surprise to all of us that he's still in the football game. Pass is complete up to Clayton. He still has it. On his feet onto the 22-yard line. You know, you don't want to second guess Coach Bob because we have so much respect, but you have a young man like Jason who has had the knee problems. Why take the chance of having him in a game that's pretty much in the books?
Yeah, that would be what I would think. You know, obviously we said before, we're not the coach. They know what they're doing. But one thing Chuck Long told us yesterday in our conversation with him was, you know, how is Jason doing with his knees and all that? And remember what he told us?
Yeah.
That he's spending less time in the training room now because he's feeling so healthy and so strong with his legs. So here's an example of it.
Ronaldo works left side down to the 10-yard line.
Ronaldo works number 47.
More on Jason White. Here's Aaron Andrews.
Talking all night about Jason White's bad luck over the past 2 seasons. As you can imagine, he wants some good luck. He's adopted some new superstitions. How about these? They have to do with his socks. He always wears the same socks after a good wash, of course. But when he washes the socks, he has to wash them separately from everything else. He also says it's vital to take a shower before the game. I hope it's vital to take a shower after the game. But regardless, the superstitions look to be working, guys.
Well, I'm sure his parents are glad that he washes his socks, you know.
That's great. Take a little extra time.
Yeah.
And you know something? Athletes don't call them superstitions. They call them rituals.
Rituals. That's right.
Right?
Now it works as a ritual, and it's just banging into the defensive line of Iowa State. You know, that Oklahoma offensive line, we've talked about them, as players are starting to gasp a little canal water. But this offensive line of Oklahoma, they were kind of shook up a little bit because the coaches kind of started moving people around. I think it caught this Oklahoma offensive line's attention.
Yeah, during two-a-days, they started moving people around. You see number 60 to your right was Wes Sims, and he was a guy who was a projected starter, was dropped to second team behind Chris Messner, and Chris Bush, number 52, came in for Vince Carter, who was a little dinged up. And Wes Sims said, that got my attention. I had to work harder to get my job back.
Absolutely, and they have. And Bob Stoops' troops, he's got their attention. They lead here in the fourth. Let's take a look at tonight's T-Mobile play of the game. And, of course, it's the little slippage play. White to Clayton, covered 45 yards for the touchdown, and that's our T-Mobile play of the game. Oh, the last time Iowa State was shut out was 1991, October 9th at Kansas. The last shutout here at home was September of 1988. Baylor and Grant Taft did the honors, 35-0. 25 years since they were shut out here in Ames. Oklahoma just using that run game and running down the clock. Work still in the ball game. Here's Craig Sager with more on the offensive line. Thanks.
Well, Ron, if there's a weakness on this team, it was perceived to be that offensive line, but Kevin Wilson has done a great job, and right now they're playing far more powerful and productive. Last year they gave up 33 sacks. We're nearing the halfway mark now here in Game 5. This offensive line has given up just 3 so far this year.
And 2 of the sacks were with Jason White, 1 with Paul Thompson.
That's right.
So keeping Jason White upright has been job 1 at Oklahoma, and they're doing it very well. Much more physical in the run game, which they say has helped them in the pass game.
I think it has.
Being more physical. And there's Kevin Wilson, the former offensive coordinator at Northwestern, now the run game coordinator at Oklahoma and offensive line coach.
And one of the few coaches, Charles, that has 2 whistles.
Yeah, that's a great point, right? When we talk about whistles in practice, we're going to hear about the flag. There was a flag on the play, and Oklahoma marked off on it. But in practice, they blow a whistle to stop a play. But Kevin Wilson, when he's upset his offensive line, he has his own whistle and tells his guys to block till my whistle's over. continue to finish your block. And he doesn't bring it out very often, but when he does, that's a long day for the Sooners offensive line, and they've gotten his message.
Well, they're making him work tonight. The starters are all in. White looks right. Throws, touchdown, Oklahoma, Mark Clayton. Clayton's second touchdown reception of the evening.
Do you get the sense that Mark Clayton has seen Brandon Jones's development and said, it's time for me to pick it up big time? And he has tonight. He has figured in every big third down pass tonight by Jason White. And look at that, another touchdown strike between the two.
Clayton has at least one reception of plus 40 yards in 4 straight games now. He came into this game with 2 touchdown receptions, and he's doubled it tonight.
He's close to the 100-yard mark, too. I believe he holds the Oklahoma record for most 100-yard receiving games in a career.
5.
Breaking Eddie Hinton's record.
Yeah.
Remember Eddie Hinton, who went to the Baltimore Colts?
Well, he has 5, including the last 2 games. He's trying to make it 3, and the Oklahoma Sooners, they're ready to go down I-35 and visit the Cotton Bowl in Dallas. Jack Trice Stadium was full. It's not quite that way now as Iowa State find themselves on a short end of a stick, 39-0. Ellis Hobbs on the return. Penalty flag is thrown as he takes a whack upside the head. That's a denture check. They're scrumming for the ball, but I'll tell you, when you can hear it this high up, you know it's a big hit. And it'll go against Iowa State. Next week in Dallas at the Cotton Bowl, it's the Red River Shootout with the Oklahoma Sooners and the Texas Longhorns, 1 versus 13. Texas could move up in the polls after their win over Kansas State today. And there's the one in the bottom that just sticks in the craw of Texas fans that OU's won the last 3 meetings, but people forget Mack Brown won the first 2. He's 2-3 against them in the last 5 years.
I think what I find interesting is Texas leading the series 55-37 in the ties, considering how great both programs have been over the years. You always talk about great coaches, national championships, and all those things. I would have figured that disparity would be a lot smaller between the 2 squads.
Well, half the Cotton Bowl in burnt orange, half it in crimson. It's an incredible sight. And of course, the Texas State Fair going on at the same time. Pass incomplete. Thought it was caught by Lance Young, but he just couldn't get his hands on the ball. You know, we talk about how many people caught passes for Oklahoma. You look at the wide receivers who have caught passes for Iowa State, only 3. Young, Danielson, Whitver, all 2 apiece.
And last year, Seneca Wallace was 4 for 22 in the game against Oklahoma, throwing the ball for 43 yards and 3 interceptions, and only 1 wide receiver caught a pass. Tonight, 6 passes caught by wide receivers. Not a great improvement from one year to the next.
And Austin Flynn takes another seat. It has been a tough night for this redshirt freshman from Deer Park, Texas. He has gotten knocked around a couple times, Charles.
You've heard of growing pains. This is what you get when you take on the #1 team in the country and one of the top defenses in the country also. Their speed and their ability to run you down even when you get out of the pocket. You're almost better off making one move and being definite and going, because then you have a better chance when you're continuing to try to extend the life of a play as a quarterback against Oklahoma. Very tough to do, and we see the graphic again. We've shown him under pressure before. This young man will need a serious Epsom salt bath.
Oh boy!
When this thing is over.
Get that whirlpool going.
get the ice packs on him after the game. Get the whirlpool going so you have him back for your next ball game, healthy and ready to go. You know, when you go back with Oklahoma this year, when they went to Alabama and played, Brody Croyle said, the Oklahoma team, not only do they get after you, they bring the pain when they get there. He's a quarterback for Alabama. Austin Flynn has experienced that tonight.
I understand Wayne Chambers has limped off the field for Oklahoma. We hope to get an update on him. Flynn hit from behind as he lets it fly. Pass is going to be intercepted. Rodney Poole with the interception, his second of the ball game. And he takes his seat. But Austin Flynn felt the pressure immediately. And the man who was sacked 5 times in the previous 2 games, sacked 6 tonight, throws the Oski.
Was this Dusty Dvorak again?
Yep.
Look in the middle of your line, number 94 in white. He's had a pretty good night, hasn't he? Getting to the quarterback. Remember, sacks aren't the total indicator of good pressure. A lot of times it's hurries, in causing incompletions and forced passes. That's what Dusty Dvorak did. He got to Austin Flynn, wrapped his big body around him so he couldn't step into the throw. Ball was woefully short. Rodney Poole gets his second interception of the evening.
I'll tell you, Rodney Poole had one interception for the season coming into tonight. And this is an OU defense. We talked about the interceptions they've had in the Bob Stoops era. They had like 22 interceptions last year, and 19 of those interceptions were from players that came back this year. New quarterback, Paul Thompson, is in the lineup for Oklahoma. And he gets down to about the 17-yard line. Thompson, the sophomore out of Leander, Texas. I'll tell you what, this is a young man coaches are high on. The last 6 months, the coaches have felt the improvement of Paul Thompson. He's become what they call a drill sergeant. Spends time in the film room. He keeps watching Jason White, talks to Josh Heupel, former quarterback. And this young man is going to be a player when Jason White decides to move on.
Yeah, well, I talked with a longtime observer of the Oklahoma program, and he told me that this young man may be the most impressive, articulate guy on this team.
Pass is intercepted. Iowa State's going to get on the board. Jermaine Billups. He'll take it to the golden goalpost. Well, that got the shutoff off the board. The goose egg is gone, and Paul Thompson with his first interception of the year.
Did we jinx this young man?
I think we might have.
So nice about him. Great play by Jermaine Billups coming on the blitz. Strong safety blitz. Watch to the bottom of your screen. Number 6. He fills up the screen now. That's a big-time catch because that's a ball thrown from a short distance. And Jermaine Billups, a former running back, right? Mr. Nebraska football coming out of high school as a tailback, got a chance to show off his legs yet again.
And ironically, that happened to Iowa State against Northern Illinois. Flynn threw the pass last week and got intercepted the same way. But this time, Thompson just doesn't get enough arc on it. Billups on the blitz, takes it the distance, and Iowa State is on the board with 10:48 to play. Jermaine Billups, the senior out of Omaha, Nebraska, Central High School, with the interception and the touchdown. That's his first interception of the year and first touchdown. Takes it the distance, and the former Mr. Nebraska football, who was a prep running back, gives John Skoldane's team something to hopefully smile about. 10:48 to play. They still trail the Sooners 39-7.
See the formation there by Iowa State. They're just trying to mess up Oklahoma's blocking scheme, so that you can't get an easy read on which guy you're supposed to pick out in your lane.
Bradley has some running room. He has one man to beat to the 50. He's scooting down the sideline. Can he do it? Touchdown, Oklahoma. The kickoff return for 6.
Oklahoma says, I see your interception return for a touchdown and raise you one kickoff return for a touchdown. In their last game against UCLA, Oklahoma gave up a kickoff return for a touchdown, 91 yards with Maurice Drew from UCLA. Hope I have his name right. And then this week, they worked on it, had a little emphasis, and said, you know, why don't we bring one back ourselves? Bingo. Mark Clayton. Excuse me, not Mark Clayton, but Mark Bradley.
Now the Sooners knocking on the door for 50 points. They have a string of them going right now. The extra point by DiCarlo is good. That's the longest kickoff return at Jack Trice Stadium. The old record was set in 1977. It was 95 yards, and he turns on the Jets right there, Charles.
I was talking about Iowa State's formation trying to mess up Oklahoma's blocking scheme so they couldn't easily pick out who they needed to get. Evidently, they had no problem with it whatsoever. A couple of good blocks inside, and the best part was Mark Bradley saw his gap and got into it right away. Boom, and off he went.
Look at Brent Venables, still coaching over there. You like that? Oh, that's a guy who's winning. That's the assistant defensive coordinator and co-defensive coordinator, Brent Venables, who will be a head coach one of these days, I might add, along with Mike Stoops and Chuck Long. We got a bunch of them that are going to have the HC in front of their name. Brent was a great player, you know, great coach at Kansas State, came to Oklahoma and What a great young man, and does a super job with that defense along with Mike Stoops.
Yeah, they have a staff full of them. Kevin Sumlin, who we saw last year at Texas A&M, took over the play calling, and their offensive production increased dramatically under his direction. He's coaching tight ends here. Yeah, you got Cale Gundy, a former quarterback, who's a running backs coach. You know, Darrell Wyatt, the wide receiver, suggests a couple plays in their ball game against UCLA that work for big yardage and touchdowns. Got a lot of guys, a lot of talented people on this staff.
Let's see if Iowa State can duplicate it. Ellis Hobbs the third. Still on his feet, still moving his feet, and he is held up. With more on Mark Bradley, here's Craig Sager.
Well, Ron, remember at the beginning of the show, you mentioned back in 1984 when Oklahoma came into the stadium, took on Iowa State, very close game. They ended up winning 12-10. Well, that game was won by Oklahoma on a touchdown by Danny Bradley. His son, Mark Bradley, tonight with a 100-yard kickoff return for another touchdown, following in Dad's footsteps here at Jack Trice Stadium.
I tell you what, I'm going to put my money on Danny on a 100-yard dash, though. Man, Mark's
talking about right now.
Yeah, right now.
Right now, I'm taking Mark.
I'll still go with Danny.
How about Sags filling in the blanks like that?
That's good.
Man is a true historian.
Yes, and he's warm tonight, too.
Yes, he is. We all are. And we were afraid coming in here. High of 48 on Saturday. That park I brought and my mucklucks.
Then you were ready to rock there.
Didn't need them. It's a beautiful evening for football.
Well, Iowa State came in with high hopes. They had a pretty good first quarter, trailed only 3-0. And Oklahoma started to spread things out in the second. Now the floodgates are a tad open. Oklahoma's showing a little bit of blitz. Flynn steps up in the pocket, scrambles, looks for the 30, gets up to the 28-yard line. Here's Ernie Johnson with an update in the Pac-10. EJ.
All right, thank you.
Ernie, you practice it enough. you become practice. You know, you got to practice perfectly, and we have for 4 weeks.
Yeah, my father used to teach us that all the time when he coached me in basketball. Practice doesn't make you better. Perfect practice makes you better.
That's coach speak.
Gotta love it, don't you?
Yeah, Flynn dumps it down, getting the first down. Iowa State's Jamal Montgomery, the senior out of Long Beach, California. And here is a guy that's been quiet tonight. That's his first reception. Montgomery, the 6-foot senior, coming off his best year ever. He was a backup for a couple of years, and a lot of people thought that this would be his breakout year, and it hasn't been.
It's been tough all night for the wide receivers of Iowa State. We said at the top they needed to step up and make plays, but a big reason why they haven't been able to, the Oklahoma secondary.
They're keeping it on the ground, straight up the middle. Stevie Hicks, that redshirt freshman, doing a pretty good job. Now the longest kickoff return here at Jack Trice Stadium. The longest play, I should say, for the Oklahoma Sooners was Buster Rhymes' kickoff return when he was a freshman against Kansas State. And so Bradley joins Buster Rhymes, the long-legged strider.
It'd be George.
That's right.
Buster
Rhymes. Three-step drop. Flynn throws in the flat. Pass is incomplete, intended for Lance Young. Now Flynn is down.
Pass intended for
and it's that left shoulder. Doesn't look like it's moving a whole lot. Or is he going to grab that knee? And McCarney. He's already lost a couple of players tonight, and boy, you don't want to see this for this young man.
See what happens. See them step up and pass coverage right at the knee. Pass rush was that Tommy Harris, 97, trying to make a play, coming through, not being malicious, just trying to get to the legs of the quarterback. Unfortunately, he caught him in the unfortunate right spot.
Now Chris Love is the backup, the junior out of Round Rock, Texas, just outside of Austin, and we're going to take a break. We'll come back to Ames, Iowa with 8:41 to play after this. Well, Austin Flynn ran off the field under his own power, so that's good news. We'll get an update on him. And Chris Love is checked into the lineup at quarterback. Big classic drop back throw with a pretty good arm, and his pass is incomplete. Love out of Round Rock, Texas. 6'5", 214-pound junior. This is a tall passer. Doesn't get rattled, and he was really locked in a three-way battle for this quarterback position with Austin Flynn, Wade Terry, and Love, of course. And they gave it to Austin Flynn, but this young man does have some ability. Good player.
He was the backup to Seneca Wallace last year, and went through the spring, locked in the battle, trying to see who would get it. Had some off-the-field problems, which helped take him out of the Derby. And during that time, you know, if what they say, you snooze, you lose.
That's right.
Austin Flynn seized the job. It's going to be very tough for Chris Love to get it back from him.
Good arm, good size, needs a little bit of consistency. Pass is incomplete, intended for Lane Danielson, the senior wide receiver out of Dike, Iowa. And I have to think that Haney's Bar in Dike, Iowa, not doing a whole lot of cheering tonight. That's their favorite son right there.
Yeah, the crowd there cheering for Lane Danielson. And, of course, they have a little heavy heart for him tonight because of the way the game has gone. And third downs just have not been kind to Iowa State. 1 for 12 tonight in third down situations.
Well, you know, we were talking about people probably wondering why Austin Flynn was still in the ball game. Reason being, he's a redshirt freshman.
Yeah, he needs the snaps. And there's a little bit different situation from why we were calling for Jason White to get out of it.
After the 42-yard kick, pretty good punt coverage. Antonio Perkins is
middle. The coverage has been there, and that's one good selling point for Iowa State. They're down 46-7, and we saw great hustle on the punt coverage late in the ball game when they're being blown out. So it's obviously a team that has not quit this evening.
Oh, that's a tough sight to see if you're Oklahoma, because going into the Cotton Bowl next week, OU Texas, you're going to need that young man both on returns and also on the defensive side of the football, because he's becoming a pretty good defensive player too.
Yeah, Eric Bassie will step in and play his corner, but the what you mentioned, the kick return element of it, someone will have to step up in that area if he's unable to go. We can only hope that he will be for next week.
Mike Stoops thinks he's a better cornerback than he is a punt returner. That's pretty hefty.
That's hefty
comment there. Now Paul Thompson back in at quarterback, Dan Townsend and Dante Hickson in at running back for the Sooners. And it'll be Hickson, the young sophomore out of McKinney, Texas. Our 1st and 10 line tonight is brought to you by Home Depot. And Iowa State has only crossed that 9 times this evening. The Oklahoma Sooners have crossed the 1st and 10 line by Home Depot 28 times. Right now, Oklahoma 547 yards offense. Iowa State just a shade over 215. You can see the first down situation. Paul Thompson getting some much needed work. Like to see these young players do that. Hickson again, this time he is going to be corralled.
We got a pretty good Home Depot 1st and 10 line, don't we? As many times Oklahoma's crossed it, you would think they would have obliterated it by now.
That's right.
That's a good 1st and 10 line that can hang in there under that kind of duress.
It's built by Home Depot.
You
That's
know,
why.
Best stuff going.
Yeah, once again, Iowa State 0-10 when they gain under 250 yards. They've got 215 tonight. And we only have 7 minutes left to play in this football game. Thompson, a little play action pass, gets the first down as they cross the 25 up to the 27-yard line. Dan Townsend, the freshman from Sulphur, Oklahoma. Here's Craig Sager with an injury update. Segs.
Well, Austin Flynn says that he was standing there getting ready to plant his left foot. He got it stuck in the turf, and then a player from Oklahoma hit him. He came over to the sidelines. They evaluated it. They put ice on it. They think there is some stability in it. They've told him to try to walk on it, stay on the feet until the end of the game so they can have a further examination in the locker room.
Oh, boy, you just hope for the best for that young man. Oklahoma keeping it on the ground, trying to lean forward is Kewan Jones, the sophomore from Jenks, Oklahoma. Boy, Jenks has some pretty good football players up there in Tulsa.
Hey, who's that? Who's the big rival there? Jenks versus Union?
Tulsa Union.
They get at it every year.
Big time.
Saw a story on Corey Klein and Rocky Kalmus.
Oh,
Kalmus welcoming Klein to the Oklahoma Sooner family and saying, hey, I know you went to the rival high school. It was Jenks and Union going at it, but you know something, we're just Sooners now.
That's right. That's tough to put those aside.
Tough to put those behind you.
Kewan Jones again running the football, gets another first down. I'll stick around for the Schick Quattro post-game report. Ernie Johnson and Brian Bosworth are standing by in lovely Studio A. They'll catch you up on all of today's action, including a couple of no-huddle highlights, and the Boz, as only he can do, who has played in many OU Texas games, will have his preview. Hold on to your hats.
So we know Boz was the complete linebacker in college, because if he can handle no-huddle highlights, that meant he didn't come off the field in the nickel package.
That's right.
You know, that meant he was out there still directing.
He was the man.
How'd you like to be the coach to tell Boz come off the field?
I don't know if that wouldn't have been Bobby Proctor then. I forgot who was the linebacker coach then. Might have been Gary Gibbs. I'm not sure. 46-7 our score, 5.5 to play. Been a tough year for this Iowa State team. Of course, the death of Ennis Haywood. John Spaldani trying to get something going on defense. And former great running back here, and Dexter Green, and even Coach McCarney's secretary passed away tragically.
Yeah, Evelyn Cruz in a car accident. Matt Grossroad, a former player for him, played on some bowl teams, and he lived with a few of the guys. And it's just been a very, very tough off season, and even continuing into the fall camp for these guys.
Wearing his dad's number, Mark Bradley makes the catch, but we also have a grabbing the face mask penalty. Also, Pete Taylor, the longtime play-by-play announcer here, 33 years at Iowa State, passed away in March.
Personal foul, face mask, gets the defense, 15-yard penalty, first down.
Why don't you talk about two players that are definitely missed here at Iowa State. Dexter Green from 75 to 78. They used to call him Money. Passed away from stomach cancer at the age of 46 back in May. He was quite a player here for the Cyclones. And then, of course, Ennis Haywood, two-time All-Big 12 first team. He was really the foundation of Coach McCarney's rebuilding project here for the Cyclones. He passed away on May 11th, tragically, and they are definitely missed, and they're being honored by this entire Iowa State family. Keeping it on the ground, just running down the clock with 4:43. Bo Klafke making the stop, the redshirt freshman out of Hubbard, Iowa. Now, both teams have to look ahead. Of course, we talk so much about the Oklahoma-Texas game coming up next week, but Iowa State, they still have to put their helmets back on next week. Iowa State, of course, Oklahoma next week they'll be in Lubbock to take on the Flying Circus of Mike Leach and company, and B.J. Simmons, who's playing tonight late. In fact, they just started in Lubbock. And although Works lost the football but regained it, and they're scheduled. But the good news is, if you have tickets for Iowa State football this year, you're doing all right, because you not only have Oklahoma coming here, you have Texas coming here, you have Kansas State coming here, and you have Colorado coming here.
Yeah, that's a pretty good ticket thing there, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, when you think about it, you said Kansas State coming here, right? I mean, look at that. Colorado comes in here. Big time schedule. The tough part for Iowa State now is to have enough healthy players to play that schedule, something they haven't had to face in the last few years. They've been very healthy. We talked about that before the game. We didn't have to change boards from like week 5 to week 11.
That's right.
With Iowa State, because they were so healthy last year.
Hadn't been the case this year as Paul Thompson keeps it on the ground. There's one of their biggest injuries. Hiawatha Rutland, his surgery is scheduled for Tuesday, and there may be even some nerve damage, and you really hate to see that on this young man's leg.
Yeah, I had the pleasure of flying in here on Thursday with his mom, and also flew with Mark Timmons' mom, the free safety. And Mrs. Rutland is just a very special person, very sweet, and she's got this whole thing in perspective. Hey, I hope my young man gets better and has a chance to play, but things happen, and we're just going to have to adjust and move on. But we're wishing him the best for his surgery on Tuesday.
5-7, the pass is incomplete. Pass was intended for Travis Wilson. Now, it's been a rough night for this Iowa State team, losing a couple players to injury. Austin Flynn being knocked around, just what Dan McCarney had hoped that wouldn't happen. They came in with their keys. First of all, they wanted to avoid the big play. Well, they gave up at least 5 big plays to this Oklahoma Sooner team. They wanted to make Oklahoma earn it. And they did in that first quarter, and for the most part of quarter number 2, they wanted to get off to a good start. They did get off to a good start, but they just couldn't sustain it.
And they got off to a good start defensively.
Yes.
And unfortunately for Iowa State, most of tonight has been one-sided. The defense acquitted itself quite well. The offense tried, but just didn't get it done.
Oklahoma knocking on the door again. He gets inside the 15-yard line. Dante Hickson brought down by Brandon Brown. Well, coming up next week, number 12, Nebraska. We'll get a look at that new look black shirt defense against the Missouri Tigers. Gary Pinkel doing a good job in trying to get over that loss to Kansas a week ago. But Missouri's going to be in the thick of things, and they may be the spoiler this year. Look for Missouri, led by their very exciting quarterback, Brad Smith, who is just outstanding young man on and off the field. Looking forward to talking with him next week.
It's going to be a fun one, and Columbia, Missouri already has a sellout for that game.
Well, Dante Hickson, straight up the middle, thought he saw Pater. Let's take a look at some of the scores from the Big 12 Conference today. This is the big one. Congratulations, Guy Morris, a big 12-point win over Colorado. Exciting one down in Austin. A&M Tech just got underway. Nebraska shuts out Troy State. And
that's a Troy State team that beat Marshall last week.
That's right.
Who beat Kansas State.
Go figure this year, huh? Les Miles, good job today, 56-3. They're winners down in Stillwater.
You know, they've quietly won all of their games since the season opening loss to Nebraska.
That's right.
You know, they kind of got knocked off the radar screen because that was such a big opener. But since that time, they've collected themselves and gone on and kept winning ball games. So they still have a chance to be a big factor in the Big 12.
And Joe Woodley on the stop of Dante Hickson. Woodley, whose dad, Mike Woodley, was actually one of the first assistant coaches hired by Dan McCarney when he came here. Mike was a tight ends coach and then went on to be a football administrative assistant. Now he's a football coach down in Texas.
And his son now a full-time linebacker after really the last 2 seasons splitting time between offense and defense as a fullback and a linebacker. And John Scladani, defensive coordinator, told us, I'm glad to have him full-time because he's a tough physical player. Look at the total yards for tonight.
My goodness, 600 yards for Oklahoma. On the ground, Hickson, touchdown, Oklahoma. They cracked the 50-point barrier again. Now they have rushed for over 200 yards tonight, which puts them over the 50-point barrier in the last 3 games. The first time since their national championship year of 1956. 614 yards. They have 400 more yards than Iowa State this evening. Pretty impressive performance. 414 through the air. White threw for 393. That's a career best for him. Threw 5 touchdown passes. And DeCarlo with the extra point, and it's 52-7. Take you back to Bud Wilkinson, the national championship year, 1956. What a team he had. I tell you, they did everything. Wilkinson's team never got complacent. He used to say complacency is the enemy of excellence.
That's right. That's Tommy McDonald, number 25, on that toss. And that little toss, he's now a member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Longtime player with the Philadelphia Eagles.
So you think that as far as OU's offense is concerned, Chuck Long hasn't had a chance to put everything in on the offensive side of the football. In fact, we were talking to him. He says, you know, I really want to get other things in. I want to move the ball around a little bit. and what they wanted to do, and Kevin Wilson said, listen, we need to run a certain style. He used to call Chuck Long to come down when the game was ending so he could run the plays and not have Chuck do it.
Yeah, and that was the package for the backup quarterback, Paul Thompson, which is a quarterback run series, option game. Quarterback zone play where you read the defensive end, fake it inside to the running back and get outside with the quarterback. You know, sprints, bootlegs, all those things. So you'd always tell Chuck in the middle of a game like this where they're up big, hey, why don't you come on down? And I think that Kevin slipped the elevator operator a few dollars to have him stop on every floor so that he can call all the plays while Chuck is gone and get the quarterback out there, because that's what Kevin came from, the spread formation at Northwestern, a lot of quarterback running plays.
Ball is touched out of bounds. Penalty flag will be thrown. Now this may be an obviously stupid question, and I'll admit that I've asked a few in my day. Why has Oklahoma just pooch kicked today?
Well, I think Trey DeCarlo has been a guy that's been able to get the ball into the end zone this year, so they've worked on that. But they gave up the long kickoff return last week to UCLA. So I think Coach Stoops is saying, let's narrow the field, similar to the punt game that Iowa State has employed tonight. Cut that down, get a pooch kick, get a great running start from our guys, and condense the field and try to prevent the big returns.
We got a kick out of bounds by the kicking team, holding by the return team. The penalty's offset, re-kick.
Third best passing performance tonight for Jason White.
And take a look at this screen pass to the wide receiver, number 29, Will Peoples. So we take a look at our total motion. Now watch Will Peoples as he takes off. It's tough enough to catch him when he's one guy. But when he morphs into multiple guys, makes people miss. There's Brandon Brown, number 33, the best tackling linebacker for Iowa State. He misses on the sidelines. And Will Peoples, Peoples.
I'll tell you, that's a lot of Peoples.
Goes into the end zone for the touchdown.
That can really mess you up this late on a Saturday night.
Is there any way that they could total motion us at any time? Because I gotta tell you something.
We don't move that
I am
fast.
so slow. This is what I had to
move
say.
that fast.
I'm so slow that total motion just wouldn't work for me.
do
The
it.
machine would throw its hands up and say, forget
Forget it. We can't total motion you. Another pooch kick by Oklahoma, and again they shorten the field, and with 66 seconds left to play in this football game, Iowa State will get the football. Cook on the return. That passing yards, by the way, is a team record. Back in 1999, they had 390 passing yards against Mississippi. They've shattered that tonight.
And that must have been the Independence Bowl game.
Yeah, 429 is the best against Louisville in 1999. In fact, the top 3 are all 1999.
And you see Jason
Isn't
White
that
on the
amazing?
sideline.
Mike Leach was the offensive coordinator back then, too.
See, look at Jason White on the sideline.
His uniform's
number
not
18.
dirty.
Well, it shouldn't be because he was never really hit tonight. But you know, when I look at Jason, tell me if this is too much of a stretch. He looks a lot like his offensive coordinator, Chuck Long. The hair.
Oh, that's
right?
good.
Remember when Chuck was
That's
playing
right.
at Iowa? Had that cotton thatch going?
He did.
You know? I mean, he kind of has that look.
He does, doesn't
Chuck
he?
wore number 16. Jason wears 18.
Chuck didn't have the burns like that.
No, he didn't
though.
have the burns like that.
And speaking of Chuck Long in Iowa,
pretty good career.
That was a great segue too. From 82 to 85, he had a pretty good career, and of course he was finished second in the Heisman Trophy balloting, the closest Heisman Trophy vote. Had a great career, of course, in the National Football League. Also, was a pretty good NFL quarterback. But the years, just 2 hours or so away from Ames, Iowa, and now he still hasn't gotten on the elevator. He's afraid now.
Well, he knows Kevin Wilson's strategy. But look at the numbers that he put up.
Look at the bottom.
Take that.
How about that? The voting results in 85, Charles Davis got none.
Again? I couldn't even get, see, if I could get my mom a ballot, I might have a chance.
There you go. No, I don't think so.
You know,
I've talked to her, no chance.
Hey,
Craig, what about you?
Craig Sager, who did you vote for that year? Because you've had a Heisman ballot.
Well, I have to tell you, I was kind of a homer because back then we were doing SEC football games, and I got a chance to see Bo Jackson quite often, and you get 3 votes. So I voted for Bo Jackson, Chuck Long, and somebody else. I can't remember who it was, but I think it's some guy from Northwestern.
Well, Sags, you're an Illinois guy. Chuck's from Wheaton. Who's the most famous resident from Wheaton that wore a football uniform?
Certainly not Chuck Long. It was the Galloping Ghost, Red Grange, who still owns that town.
I thought you were going to say Randy Funn, former Laker coach.
Hey, the Wheaton Iceman, Chuck, Red Grange. That's beautiful.
That's pretty good. They call a timeout, and you're probably saying, why? Call a timeout with 20 seconds when you're getting spanked?
That is a good question. I mean, you know, and I'm not saying it to be negative.
Oh, there's
I'm
the
not
elevator.
sure why.
Fire up that elevator.
There goes Chuck.
He's finally going to leave. Got the dentine in the mouth. He's ready to go.
But, you know, he's not storming the elevator. I'm a little bit surprised by that.
He's afraid they're going to get the ball back.
Kevin's really got him spooked, doesn't he? I mean, if there's ever a game you could go down and hang out and celebrate the win.
I'll tell you.
Kevin must have some play calls that Chuck just doesn't want Texas to see next week. He's afraid he's going to put it in.
Yeah, don't put those in. I'd like to thank, obviously, Kenny Mossman, the Sports Information Director at Oklahoma. Tom Crochelle here at Iowa State. Thank you, folks, for making our job so easy. We appreciate the hospitality of everybody here. I see we're picking on him. See, we're picking on Kevin. Shouldn't pick on Kevin, should we?
Now, you never pick on an O-line coach.
No.
Especially one who has a whistle that goes well beyond the play whistle. Because he's not going to quit when he gets his hands on us.
Now the final 20 seconds of this game. Oklahoma leading 53-7, and here they come with 5. Love looking, throwing, passes short, hopped, incomplete.
Brandon Shelby from the backside smacked him. It helped cause the incompletion.
Well, Todd Miller, the intended receiver. Well, Dan McCarney knew coming in it'd be an uphill battle, but he knows he still has a lot of football left. They'd love to go to another bowl. Nobody's done what he has done at Iowa State. But you know this team, if you know Dan McCarney, you hang around with them, these guys are fighters. They're going to scratch and claw, and they don't care about the injuries. As far as they got to get the pads on next week and do it all again, and Dan's going to be right back in the office tomorrow getting ready for next week's game.
He's a guy who's never had a bad day.
Never has. Love's pass, tip, incomplete, should have been caught again by Todd Miller. 9 seconds left.
McCarney very upbeat, very energetic, and I've got to give a lot of credit to the Iowa State administration when records weren't great in the beginning, but they understood the challenge that he faced coming here. And if you look at his career record, you'd say, well, you know, that's not very impressive. but not many people realize how tough of a rebuilding job this man had to get Iowa State football back on the map. And, you know, Gene Smith now at Arizona State, Bruce Vandevelde, the current AD, the administration, the presidents here at Iowa State. Great job by them. We talked about this, Joe Novak at Northern Illinois.
That's
right.
You know,
was he 4 of his first 30? He won, and now look at them. They're in the top 20.
Now, Dan,
patience with a good coach. Always have it.
Dan was 25-17 since the start of 2000. This is a team that won 27 games in the 90s. But Bob Stoops is the man of the hour as the top-ranked Oklahoma Sooners take care of Dan McCarney and the Iowa State Cyclones 53-7. Next stop for Oklahoma is Texas. Final score again, Oklahoma 53, Iowa State 7. Our next telecast will be next Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern as the 12th-ranked Nebraska Cornhuskers take on the Missouri Tigers. For Charles Davis, Craig Sager, Aaron Andrews, and the rest of the crew, I'm Ron Thulin saying good night from Ames. After this break, it's the Schick Quattro post-game report with Ernie Johnson and Brian Bosworth.
Like the way Oklahoma's going in. All 3 phases are clicking. They look good everywhere.
Going in, and it goes without saying, into the showdown with Texas.
Into the big showdown. This is what you play for. If you go to Oklahoma, you play, you go in undefeated.
Of course, you hope that Antonio Perkins is okay. Also, more on Oklahoma. Texas-Oklahoma Red River Shootout, 98th meeting, and they'll be going that in Dallas where they play during the State Fair, and Sooners have won 3 straight. You have played in 3 of those, 2-0-1, Boz, for Oklahoma against Texas. Can you describe just the week, and when does everything crank up as far as the excitement and the adrenaline and all that stuff?
Well, for a redneck, when you're born in Oklahoma, you're born and bred to play that game. No, there's no question about it. Every other week you can pull and root for Texas, but on that given week, every redneck in Oklahoma hates the University of Texas, and I'm the first one leading the pack.
It goes without saying.
Now, it's in the Bible, the Redneck Bible. I know, I read it one day.
Now, when you look at this edition of the rivalry, though, what is Oklahoma going to have to do offensively in this one against Texas?
Well, there's no question. It all starts with Jason White, and they're going to have to protect Jason White. The way Jason White is playing right, he's so comfortable. If he can sit back there without getting pressure and pick that defense apart, he's going to have a successful day. On the other side, they don't really have a running game that makes them kind of one-dimensional. Defense for Texas could take advantage of that.
Now, a few weeks back, it was the Fresno State game for Oklahoma, and you pointed out at that point, even though Oklahoma rolled in that game, you said a couple of injuries here concern me in terms of what might happen down the road when the competition gets tougher, and here comes a case in point.
Yeah, there's no question about it. It's when you lose your key thumper inside. When they lost Lance Mitchell, it made a big hole in that middle of that defense. Now, Teddy Lehman is a great side-to-side player, and he stays on that one side, and he's now having to worry about coaching the young kids, and Fresno State took advantage of it. If University of Texas has a running game, and if they want to pull it out and not keep it a secret, they better do it in Dallas. Now, if they can get the ball into Roy Williams' hand, Roy Williams can catch the golden snitch. But they got to figure out what one quarterback are they going to go with, and they got to stick with him if they're going to be successful.
A little Harry Potter reference from the Boz. Now, how concerned are you? Obviously, Antonio Perkins has helped off the field tonight for Oklahoma, a guy who can return kicks, a stalwart defensively, too. I mean, this is the kind of thing going into a game like this, the last thing you want to see.
There's no way this kid's going to miss that game. They live for this matchup. I mean, the Oklahoma-Texas matchup for all those kids in Oklahoma, that's why I went to Oklahoma. I just wanted my opportunity to go to the Cotton Bowl and kick Texas's ass, and I was successful each and every year I went down there.
I'm afraid to even ask what you think might happen.
What do you think is going to happen? Let's make a little bet. I feel supremely confident.
I would never be able to tell that. I mean, is this a close game? Is this down in the fourth quarter between these two?
It's going to come down to turnovers. If Oklahoma, and they don't make a lot of mistakes, if they can minimize the turnovers and keep the field position, I think Texas's defense will probably bottle up Jason White. I think they've got enough athletes on the Texas defensive side of the ball. It'll be a low-scoring game. If they can keep the ball or the game somewhere in the 20s, I still think Oklahoma's going to come out on top, but it should be an exciting football game.
Well, that was very diplomatic, very political on your part. That was very nice after all the other stuff that you said. Now let's move on as the highlights continue here on the Chicago Schooner. They play Boomer Sooner, and there's the Sooner Schooner.
You know, there was one point I wanted to put square wheels on that wagon. When we played down in the Orange Bowl, they cost us 3 points, and I think they actually cost us the game.
Yeah, that's going back a few years.
It's going back a lot
almost
of years.
20 years.
Thanks
probably.
for reminding me. Thanks
exactly.
for reminding me. Appreciate it.
Well, just in the whole atmosphere surrounding this game, the guys upstairs, you know, like we'd like to.
You mean God?
You know, not even close. The guys in the production
those guys
control
upstairs.
room. Yeah, they were kind of like, well, let's kind of get into the spirit of the weekend, and we've got our own version of the Sooner Schooner that they wanted to bring out. And I haven't even seen this, so it's.
That's it. Yeah, look at that guy.
And look at Uncle Cliffy, our stage manager. Who's just does it get any more exciting than?
You know, Cliffy, usually when he crosses the 40, he stops and squats a little bit. You want to drop a little bit of package for us? Come on, baby. Atta, baby.